see here. Let me grab the link so if anybody wants to hop on in here with us, they have that option. Now, that and all right. Okay, what's going on, man? How you doing this evening?
I'm great.
I know you always enjoy an opportunity to talk a little Star Wars, especially when you get to talk to the Star Wars fans.
Oh
That's
my
the part
God.
you enjoy.
Yeah, I love it so much. I love
So,
hearing all the whining.
the whining. Let's see. I am going to just copy this link and post this in our Facebook group, Grown A Geeks. This is currently live on my page. This is live on our YouTube channel, and this is live on our Twitch. So you can find it in those locations. Um, Obviously, click the QR code there in the corner. And if you're seeing this, you're probably seeing it because you already follow us. If not, make sure to like and subscribe and be a part of all of the fun. Um, so this came about because someone posted in our Facebook group, Grown Geeks, and they were posting talking about the new TV show Star Wars: The Acolyte, and got an interesting response. I actually planned on doing a review of the show. We're 3 episodes in right now. There's, I believe, going to be 8 total episodes. And so I figured when we got to like the mid-season, around episode 4, I was like, you know what, that'll probably be a good place for us to jump in and start discussing it. It'll be right at that halfway mark. And because I don't necessarily care to do like, every single day review, like every reviews every week. You watch the episode, we watch the episode. If there's something pivotal, then yes, obviously there's a discussion. But for the most part, you know, I want people to be able to enjoy and give enough time to actually have something to talk about. Um, so let's see if I can comment and tell at every. Oh, I already did it at everyone. So I can't add everyone in the group to let everybody know we're there, but I will pin this one to the top. Boom. And you know what? I will also share this in the thread where we were having the conversation, just so everybody can, be there, see what's going on. And I've actually got the links posted. So if you want to copy and join in and be a part of this discussion, you can do that as well. I got to tell you, man, I'm actually a little shocked that people aren't enjoying this show more. Um, a lot of it, I think, is just your standard review bomb type thing that happens every time a new series comes out because the original, like, critical review for it is very high. And then the audience score is shockingly different. And I just feel like there's no way that we watch the same 2 episodes to get that kind of reaction. This is not groundbreaking Star Wars, but I don't think Star Wars has done anything groundbreaking in some time. I think Rogue One and Andor, truthfully, were the only things that were in the Star Wars universe that's something that would be considered groundbreaking. Past that, I don't know that there's anything different, anything new in Star Wars. And of course, it's a very interesting group of people, those Star Wars fans, because a lot of them, I won't say they as a whole, but it seems oftentimes that a lot of the Star Wars fans, they cling to this notion that a movie that was made in the late 70s is the cinematic epic It's a combination of all great things cinema right there in that movie. Um, Empire does tend to have a higher rating overall, but even then, like the movie's not without its own flaws. The story of Star Wars as a whole, it's science fiction, so there's room to grow, there's room to improve, there's room to adapt and change and modernize. And as technology has improved, they've done that. When we got to the original trilogy, and then when we got to the prequels, at the time the prequels were out, like people weren't just there was a mixed review at the time. And those of us who were like the old head Star Wars fans and been around for years, hadn't had anything new Star Wars for a good while, that was perfect. That was what we needed. That was joyous. And some of the things that we saw, like just the fact that the lightsaber battles that took place in episodes 1, 2, and 3, compared to what we got in the original trilogy, this was what we were waiting on. This is what we were looking for. So that was obviously a very, very high point. But, there were other things that seemed a little off, and they've done what they can over time to clean up a little this, a little that. You just can't make Star Wars fans happy. So while I can sit here and go on like a whole rant, just like talking about Star Wars as a whole, um, what are your thoughts on
I
this
mean,
show?
I do think it is one of those things where you have to talk about it in the context of Star Wars as a whole, because, like you said, there is a large section of that fan base, or maybe it's not even that large in number, but in terms of volume and in terms of how much sway they have over the conversation around the entire IP, it creates an aura around Star Wars that, when we're talking about being at the height of geek culture right now, right? Like, it's never
Yeah,
been a better time, or more equitable to be a geek, to understand things in those worlds as it is now, right? Like,
correct.
I made a ton of money off of it. We're doing our thing here, building something with this based on that. Like, it's billions and billions of dollars made every year off of consumer products and IP, creative storytelling, things of that nature, right? Star Wars is the fan base, I would say, outside of like the anime sector, where there's a lot of different types of fans. And so you might be able to find your way into like a fan section of anime, or an anime you really like. Outside of anime, I think that Star Wars is the like fan base that is the hardest to like get into or be a part of, because there's so much about it that seems to be about like, what do you know? You have to take like all these quizzes and all these tests to constantly like prove you understand what it was about. And I think because that type of communication lends itself to a certain type of person who hangs out in a certain type of place, where others of us who like Star Wars grew up in a place in a time where you weren't just going to talk to people any old kind of way because you know more about something. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's created this like evil wing of the fandom that runs so much of it, because they all have just been fermenting for years and years and years on top of each other at the comic book stores, at the video shops, building up in their mind what it takes to be what is the truest virtue of being a Star Wars fan. And from 1980 whatever until 2000, what 90 what 1999, was that when the first movie came out, or
The
2000? Phantom Menace.
For the original trilogy, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it was right at the
it's like
beginning.
99, right?
Yeah,
So you're talking about like close to 20 years of drought, and that fan base was reading books and making up D&D campaigns and doing all this stuff and so invested and involved in the franchise over the years that I think that they lost sight of the fact that to the larger world, Star Wars is 3 movies.
Right.
Not 500 books about the Jedi Order and Star Wars as an entity. Like, we've had this conversation about comics, right? Where comic fans have had to understand that, like, your things are being adapted, and as they're being adapted, you need to understand that there are fans who are coming into it, understanding the adaptations first,
Right.
and that's a valid way to discuss these characters because it's all considered canonical most of the time as well. Star Wars has this issue now where because people invested so much time and energy into like reading things, and then it's like, well, that stuff's not canonical anymore, and people are mad, right?
Right.
Because that thing you love, that story you loved, never happened. I mean, it never happened anyway. It's all fictional, but like you're upset because you feel like something is being like wiped away. I guess I somewhat understand that, right? Although the reality is there's precedent for that in geek sphere as well. You know, you
Right.
see that with DC does their Elseworlds tales where it's like alternate dimensions, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's okay, bro. Like, it's okay. Like that story, you still got to read that story. Yeah, okay, you have to live with the fact that maybe it's never going to make it onto the screen in exactly that same way, but
in most cases,
it
when
doesn't
you read
need
those
to.
books, you weren't even thinking of it being a movie.
Right. So you have a section of fans that have not just accepted what this is, and you just mad at everything. You mad at George Lucas when he made the movies. You mad at him when he sold it to Disney. You mad at when they don't give Jon Favreau enough stuff. You mad at the stuff Jon Favreau makes, and it becomes this thing where and now it's starting to really rear its ugly head because Disney has done the research and the due diligence to understand who their fans are. And they have the numbers. They have the numbers based on who buys movie tickets. They have the numbers based on who buys merchandise, apparel, collectibles, all that stuff. They have it broken down by age demographic, by racial demographic, by gender demographic. It would be stupid of them as business people not to factor this into the ways in which they are going to expand their IP. Because if people buy more products, then you will get to make more stuff. Because the people who are in control will say, Star Wars, good. Star Wars, make money.
Yeah.
But
And
if you
ultimately,
only reduce Star Wars to that thing you like that connected to you, now you're realizing a whole lot of other people like Star Wars too. And we didn't have nobody who we could look at on the screen outside of Billy D. Williams, who ain't making it into the end of the second movie, and y'all had him cross everybody. And then we act like he ain't the one who blew up the second Death Star. We don't care about that one.
yeah, that one don't count.
So you got to look at it from a situation where you're realizing a whole lot of people were in the room with you that you were ignoring all this time. And now Star Wars is not ignoring those people. And I understand people who might be upset because they don't want it to like pander, but I've never seen anybody on screen in a Star Wars movie say, I'm a strong black woman and hear me roar, all this other stuff like that. Now, if I, as an actor or actress, use that to inspire my performance as this person in this universe, that's 100% valid. But if I'm not saying those things on the screen, why are you ascribing that to me? I agree, David Gordon. I'll recommend you go back and watch our episode of Therapy where we talked about Star Wars. And that was one of the main things that I said was an issue with the IP. Too much
galaxy.
You literally start with in a galaxy far, far away, and then the only thing you do is tell us about this one family who the babysitter groomed the little boy. Like, and ended up making one of the most evil people in the universe has ever seen, and almost destroyed everything.
Yeah.
All because he didn't want to listen. After Yoda told him not to. Ain't nobody want to listen to Yoda. It's it's
Yes.
it's one of those things where I think like Star Wars fans kind of need a wake up call to a degree, and it feels like to me it's like maybe
No saying. It gets everywhere though. Like clearly it would have got there.
yeah. I feel like it's one of them things where it's like, all right, take a moment and think about Star Wars for most of our lives. For my life, it's a thing that mostly happened before I was born. Before the 99 movie comes out. So 99, I'm going into high school, right? So this is I'm fertile for IPs being like planted in my brain as like the thing that's gonna be identifying personality factor, etc. Right?
Right.
This is when a lot of I think the people who have set and defined the culture were that age when the original Star Wars came out. And so yeah, you base your whole identity on connecting with these characters or your desire to make films, your desire to follow other, geekdom. Like the nostalgia of what Star Wars means in the like history of, geek culture in America is not to be disrespected or trifled with because a lot of the people who went on to make some of the things that we love and some of us aren't willing to turn our nose up to, they started with Star Wars. That was the thing that made them love the movies. That was the thing that made them love sci-fi, outer space, all that. And so we have to have respect for those things. But I think sometimes people are not aware of necessarily how much they connected with the whiteness of Star Wars. And they don't look around and say, there were people who had no representation hardly at all in the film. And they fell in love with a piece of it too. And so for me, like one of my most frustrating days as a geek was the frustration of the what was the one with Finn, the first one, New Hope?
Force
No, not
Awakens.
New Hope. Huh?
The Force
Force
Awakens.
Awakens. Seeing that trailer, not knowing it was gonna be a black dude, seeing the black dude pop up, I'm like, oh shit, like
And he took
we
off the
in here.
stormtrooper helmet
And then scrolling down, like 5 minutes later, just scrolling through the comments, and like the eighth comments just being like, "There's no niggers in the Star Wars universe."
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like trailer literally just dropped, and that was somebody's first thought, and that is an experience that permeates a large portion of the Star Wars community. Maybe not necessarily in those vulgar of terms, but a lot of the things that people are complaining about being changed, whether it's more women or women having more prominent roles, women being women of color, people of color, etc. Like all the early movies is just about white people. There's been percentage wise so many white people in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
And I think that there is critique to be said about some of the writing. There is critique to be said about some of the direction. But a lot of the ganging up on and the piling on and the things that people choose to pile on versus the things that they don't choose to pile on, it's like you can point to Ashoka, but like she came in playing with house money because everybody already loved her from Rebels. That's not the same thing as trying to give a universe rich with character a new character to connect to, because all you're going to do is end up comparing it. All you're going to do is say, oh, well, that's, it's hard to make Mandalorian not just be a fake ass Boba Fett.
Or in some cases, even an upgraded Boba Fett.
Right. Well, that's the way you have to like look at it, right? But it's hard. That's a hard task.
Yeah.
And that's for a character who was on camera for about 10 minutes to all total, probably in the original series.
Less.
It's like 6 probably.
Yeah, it's like his total screen time is like, I'm sure that's a Easter egg trivia question. You know what? I'm gonna throw it out there for somebody. I'll find something to give you. What was the total? I'm gonna look it up as well. So
I feel like it was like 6 minutes and 9 seconds or something.
you're right. It's something ridiculous. But yeah,
But
in the way people
yeah,
attach to that character, and it's like, oh, that's my favorite character in Star Wars, and it's like, bro, he didn't do nothing. He was just there,
he
and
got
it even
8.
goes on to be like, I'm gonna let you finish your point, but it blows my mind because it's like you come back later on, and it's like, oh, that's your favorite character. Was that still your favorite character when you found out it was Tamura Morrison?
Right.
Because when he just had a helmet on, he was anybody. He was
Right.
whoever you wanted to be. And when you talk about like that representation and being able to see yourself and being able to see certain things, it was like that has existed in a lot of spaces for a long time, especially surprisingly in the geek community. And that's a weird thing to have to grow up and kind of see and understand and start making those adjustments because like you take something and again going back to that 80s time frame, that late 70s early 80s, that kind of thing, like GI Joe. Snake Eyes was one of my favorite characters because he always had a mask on. Snake Eyes could be anybody I wanted him to be. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it's like maybe I didn't want to be Roadblock every time. You know what I'm saying? Like there was
Too
only
bad.
it was Roadblock or Doc. Those were my only options.
Too
A
bad.
little bit
Getting
later
there.
on, we got Striker. Now there's 3 different characters for me to choose from. Yay. And so I was
Weren't you happy with that, boy?
right. You know what I'm saying? So it was like it still
It
kind
could be
of
0. And it's
right.
like,
And
yeah, but it also could be,
half. It
yeah,
could be most. It could be anything. And it is what it is. And even with the point to Star Wars, I think the thing that for today's standards, what bothers me so much is this concept that making any kind of effort to right the wrongs is a problem. That's the part that you do have to toe a fine line to do better and make certain adjustments because on the one hand, like you said, don't want to just be pandering, but you need to do it in a way that makes sense. And then sometimes it don't have to make sense. If it's not integral to the story, you can just have people in the background because they should be there. Period.
yeah,
And one of the things that like stuck out to me with this show is like I'm seeing new aliens for the first time in Star Wars. Aliens that I've never seen that particular alien in any other show or movie or anything. Um, and yet people are still concerned about what is in Star Wars. You know what I'm saying? And it's like there have always been women in Star Wars. You know what I'm saying? Because the people who are like just raving over these things that are a problem would go goo goo if you said the name Mara Jade. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
it's like there again, you get into these familiarities, and a lot of times something that seems like, well, that's how it should be, that's how it's always been. It just feels natural because it matches what you expect. It doesn't match what other people might expect. It doesn't match what I might expect. And it's a trip because even one of the first things that we talked about it, we've laughed and we've kind of joked about it, but it's a disappointing reality. When we got to the last of the Rise of Skywalker, we see Finn on screen, we see some other black people on screen, and Billy D. Williams' character walks over. It was like, where's your family from? And it's just like, even the implication that he would like, well, it ain't
all the
but
black
10
people
black
know
folks.
each other.
It ain't but 10 black folks in Star Wars. So of course he knows, and that's got to be his daughter. Finn had to be a Windu because he couldn't be anything else. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, he was supposed to be Lando's son. Originally, he was Finn Calrissian, and
See,
they ended up writing that out.
And part of me is glad they wrote that out because it's just you have this humongous galaxy and to constantly chip away and just make it a room. It's not a galaxy, it's a room because you can fit everybody in the room. And now they're finally getting to a point where they're stepping out and trying to show some new faces, have some new people, do something different. And it seems like that's always a problem. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out why that's a problem.
I think that's my biggest thing. It's really that like sometimes I feel like we're not really actually having the real conversation. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people are saying, I think a lot of times when you have the conversation about what is quote unquote wrong with Star Wars, it's a lot about, you hear a lot about the writing and the this and the that and the story, but then like when you talk to them about the ones that they like and the ones that they don't like, there is like this common thread. And the things that I feel sometimes I hear the fan, like certain fans who are more critical, not like, are things where it's like, oh, you don't like this because it's making you aware of something about yourself that you usually don't have to be aware of. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
you don't usually have to, when you go see the movies that you like, when you're watching the promos of the actors getting, interviewed leading up to the movie and the trailer and all that. Most of the movies you see don't have any black people in them. So you're not used to hearing, black people talking about their love of Star Wars growing up from their perspective. And so it feels like, oh, they're just pushing this and they're ramming this down my throat. When reality is they're talking to people like me, they're talking to people like Sam, they're talking to people like a lot of the other people who are involved in this group, involved in this channel, and saying like, we have been fans of this and we have been here like kind of a silent part of this community for a very long time. And it feels nice for Star Wars as an IP to recognize that.
Right.
And even if you want to say it's pandering, pander to us in a way where it's like we can see ourselves and feel like we're a part of the Star Wars universe too, not
Yeah.
just spectators or, you know, the one random token black guy. And so you're looking around Star Wars and you're seeing the neighborhood is changing and it ain't what it used to be. But what you don't see is like all these new people like getting an opportunity to like live a better life. You're not seeing opportunity like with Star Wars. You're not seeing an opportunity to see and understand something that you love from a completely different perspective because it's been you and all your like bologna sandwich, pimple face, basement dwelling friends smelling like cream cheese talking about Star Wars for the past 25 years. And you don't realize that like there are people who are actually cool as well who also like Star Wars. They didn't make it their entire identity, but they could probably go toe to toe with you on like knowledge and whatever they like too, because people are multifaceted. Just like you have a bunch of different geek IPs you like, there's people who like Star Wars and people and they like sports and they like comics and they like, you know, cars and all these things that are supposed to be cross sections of sections that, you know, these high school groups. It's like we're grown. We don't have to abide by these lunch table rules anymore. And like you're still holding on to that. And
Right.
you're trying to a lot of times make up for whatever trauma you felt when feeling like an outsider because you love this thing and nobody you knew got it. But it's like, guess what? Imagine if America was less racist and then people could live wherever they want to live. You probably actually like would have had more friends because it wasn't a stigma in the black community to like nerd stuff. It was like you're not going to be talking about it all the time, and we're not going to buy every little single thing. We're going to still make sure you're cool. You still got to be able to like You're not about to get me talked about at church, and you're not about to get me talked about at the family barbecue. But like, well, nigga, you want to watch Star Wars? Watch Star Wars. You want a lightsaber? You can play with it in your room. You're not going to be running down the street with it, and you know what I'm saying. You're not. We going to the mall. You're not wearing a cape. You're not wearing a cloak.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You want to wear one around the house? That's fine. Go get your bathrobe.
You have a small window as a child to be able to do that to be acceptable. And
yeah,
it feels like
you gotta,
at some point
you gotta grow the fuck out of it.
Grow up, or at least you know what I'm saying.
Look, you see on Craig of the Creek, wasn't no black elder geeks.
Right, right. At that point, my man had a girlfriend, and it's been well established at this point. You know?
Right.
So it's I think what's really interesting though, and it's when I'm looking at this show, and I'll try to make this semi spoiler free, because I think what's really being overlooked in this is people are having conversations about the wrong things for this show. You know, and it's like what they're not really talking about is what's actually taking place in the show, the story that's being told. And it's like I've got, you know, because I just can't seem to watch anything without trying to make predictions and theories and figure it out before he gets there. And
this story is being told in a way to invite that as well, because there's so much backstory between the characters as we're meeting them that it's just like it's setting itself up to be like, all right, like there's something going on between those two. There's something going on between those two. You know, people are acting like things are fine, but clearly things aren't fine. So eventually we're going to find out what's wrong. But until we do, like, here's some action, here's some fight scenes.
And you know, and I'm not going to pretend for 1 second that I am not 100% all about laser swords and space wizards. You know what I'm saying? Jedi and the Sith, that's Star Wars to me. I've made it a point to try to embrace more and understand that there are other aspects of Star Wars. I did enjoy Rogue One. Solo, I could, I wanted to get a little bit more, but it was like, the TV show Andor, it took a moment to kind of grow on me, but it got to where it was like, really, okay, this is kind of intriguing. Like, what's going to happen? And knowing that this character is the character who's going to have a major role in this other show. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like when they do stuff like that, there is that element where it's like you really lower the stakes sometimes, because no matter what happens in this TV series Andor, he's going to be okay. He has to be okay to show up in Rogue One. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, because of that connection, my brain, I'll be in the moment sometimes, and then it's like, you know what? Ain't nothing gonna happen to him. You know what I'm saying? It's like it takes me out of that moment sometimes, just knowing that these things do in fact carry on into other stuff. So now we're watching something that
nobody knows what's going on.
Actually has the freedom to do what it wants to do. There is not, like, for all of the people who are just like want to be pissed off about this, that, and the other thing. You know what? The stories that exist for the High Republic are actually pretty wide open. It's a time that took place before the stuff that we know, before the time of the Skywalker saga and all of that and everything that was involved with that. This was way back then. So society had the opportunity to be completely different. And if they want to do something completely different, guess what? It doesn't affect your current 9. It has nothing to do with these 9 movies. Anything they do over there, at the end of the day, it's going to just end up back at the 9 movies. And that's the part that it blows my mind that people can't like accept that or recognize that. And they're like, oh, they're just doing what they want to do. You know what? Let them.
They're doing what they want to do. It's theirs. They own it.
Exactly.
Like, it's theirs. Like, as much as you don't want to admit it, it's theirs. Okay. And like, I'm sorry if like they're not making the movies you want them to make. But like, that does not mean that you just saying it sucks is a fair critique, because it's not. You just are mad they're not making they're not making what you want them to make.
Right.
And so you're mad and you're saying it sucks because you want to see more white dudes in robes with space swords, right? That's what y'all say y'all want, more Jedi. Now here's a show about Jedi and how the powers came to be and how somebody even learns about how to use the powers and now, oh well, now we got a problem because you know what's the problem? This is what y'all say y'all wanted, right? Y'all say y'all wanted them to not focus on the Skywalker saga, right?
Here's some.
Y'all say y'all want something where they not, it's like what are all these force rules everybody's complaining about them trying to undo? Like, all I know is you got the force and you either choose to be good or bad. If you're good, you're a Jedi. If you're bad, you Darth whatever.
Yeah, see, and I'm right there with you, David. It was like, I think the last thing I saw, he was on the beach. He had gotten arrested by the robot, like the
one that's when it gets good.
Oh,
that's when it gets really good.
See,
and that was the same way. Andor for me was like multiple miniseries. I think I watched like 3 episodes and took like 3 weeks off, and then watched like I didn't watch it straight through. I just watched like I binged a little bit of it at a time. But
okay, cool. So maybe
after he gets arrested, it gets good for sure.
Okay,
like
cool.
When Andy Serkis shows up, that's when, yeah.
Cool. Well, there you go, David. We have a good show then. That seems we can go back and finish out strong. And I've been watching, as I'm watching The Acolyte, the thing that I like the most is that I really don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. And it's like, of course I have.
And I think that's something a lot of Star Wars fans struggle with because they had all the books, they have all this, they had all that. And now whenever you get in a situation where you don't know something,
super guilty of that. I'm super guilty of that. And I'm on record when we were talking about X-Men. I said I felt misled. I get what they did with the story they told, and it makes perfect sense. But you did this, and then you switched it, and it felt misleading because you did this, and switched, and that was the misleading part. And then this is one of those times where it's like, no amount of knowledge I have of Star Wars, any of the previous books that I've read, comics, none of that stuff is relevant to the story they're telling me. So I have no choice but to sit and watch and listen and see what they are telling me is happening and going to happen. And because of that, it is quite interesting. It is a unique feeling to watch something. And I mean, granted, my brain is still trying to solve certain mysteries, but I don't know. And the fact that I don't know opens it up and gives me something different. And it is enjoyable. And I do have lightsabers, and I do have the force powers, and I do have space, so it's like everything that I want is still there. And I've been impressed with things that had nothing to do with the complaints. This young lady is doing a great job making these two people feel like two different people.
She's such a phenomenal actress, and that is the thing. Like, I did see a comment that was like, I haven't heard anybody talking about the writing or the story or the acting. And it's like, yeah, because we're too busy responding to the dodo birds who are just complaining that like the lore that you learned in some book that's no longer canon is being ignored by these people who are being paid by a multi-billion-dollar company to generate millions of dollars for an existing IP. They don't care about your book of rules.
Even with that, and maybe you can answer this question, because this is something that I know people don't think about, because we want what we want. I'm guilty as well, but I understand, and I constantly talk about adaptation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know the difference, and I get that here's the story that exists. And when you tell the story in this, like when you write a book, you have the option to go 5 pages into detail for whatever you want to give detail for. When you shoot a movie that has 10 seconds of screen time, you got to translate those 5 pages into those 10 seconds. And sometimes they do a fantastic job of translating this from one media to another. But in the case of something like Star Wars, for all of the books that are now legends and are not canon anymore, they're off to the side and they have nothing to do with the Star Wars that Disney is putting out. You have Lucasfilm and whatnot, but when Disney slaps their logo and their brand on it, it's completely different now. Because they own the rights to Star Wars and whatnot, all those books that were previously put out, if they were to just take those stories and make those movies, they would have to pay those authors, correct?
Yeah.
So
Especially if they created any characters, or if they created any aliens or language or whatever, like they have to pay them for like all that stuff that they created and put into those books, because it was never negotiated beforehand, because nobody ever thought, like, the way Star Wars licensed out like their books, it was like, it wasn't like Star Wars was hiring people. It was like publishing companies had a license with Star Wars, and they would hire a writer to write a Star Wars book. Star Wars would just make sure like they would read it, but like there's all kinds of conflicting canon stuff in those books. That's the
right,
reason why Disney had to do away with it, because there was never going to be a way to pick and satisfy the fan base, because the fan base is having arguments over what's canonical and what's not, and it's basically like neither one.
right.
Like, we're gonna cut the baby in half and see, and
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 in
some
this
people,
case, was no real mother because he sold it off.
right.
So,
But he
that,
sold it off. No, he sold it off to the people who he knew was going to do what it needed to do. He cared too much what the fans thought, I think, George Lucas. And I think that kept him from making choices like getting away from the Skywalker family and all that other kind of stuff like that. So I think part of the reason why it took 20 some years in between making Star Wars movies, because the fan base got so powerful, and I feel like he had so much respect and love for the fans who loved what he created, because they made him what he was.
yeah.
But as an artist, I think there has to be a separation between, appreciating fans, but also like having the space to feel like you being honest with
This was so
yourself.
dope. I'm sorry. I just saw it on my screen. That was so dope.
What is
Master
it?
Torben. I'm sorry. Okay. That's the
Yeah.
fight with Master Torben.
Oh yeah.
This is episode 2 right here.
Oh yeah.
But it's probably blurry on my screen because it's picture on picture.
No, I just saw the dreads. But yeah, I think
No,
I
that
think it
absolutely,
is sad that we're not talking about how great like Amanda Stenberg is in this show. And
yeah.
I think it is sad that we're not talking about, I feel like okay, yes, for the people who read the original text, you have an understanding of this that us lay people do not have. Where there is the movie TV wing of the Star Wars fandom. I'm not reading no books. Like, I'm just not. I'm not reading, probably not reading the comics. I'm just, Star Wars for me is a movie, and it's become a TV thing, but it's a movie franchise for me first and foremost.
Right.
So, and I think if those fans are fair, they will admit that is how most people see the franchise.
Exactly.
So, okay, you have an understanding that's based on books. Why can't we just have a conversation that's like, okay, well, in the books, this is how this was explained. Like, I think the way they explained it now works better for the movies, yada, yada, yada. Or they could, you know what I'm saying? We're not having like critical conversations. We're just saying like, it sucks. They're pandering. They're just trying to put a bunch of girls in it and a bunch of black people, and they're trying to shove all this down our throat. And it's like, I don't really think that, I mean, are they making a critical effort to put more diversity in Star Wars movies? Yes. But it is not to make white men mad. It is so that people who have been Star Wars fans all this time, alongside the white people who have been represented, can also feel that representation through a franchise and an IP that they love. That's it. That's the only agenda. It's not about anything else.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 12 additional pieces of Like that whole wall is Star Wars. Okay, that whole wall over there is Star Wars. I have 12 additional pieces on that wall just because they are characters who now have better representation. I have two Donald Glover um, um, Landos. I have two Donald Glover Landos. I have three different Rivas. You know what I'm saying? I have three different Riva characters. I've got a pop figure, I've got an actual action figure for Riva, and I got a new pop recently for Riva. I've got like three Ahsokas. So I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I got
yeah.
both fans up there. I got
I,
Stormtrooper
I have
fan
both. I've
and
got both fins.
Ground
I've got
Trooper
an
fan.
action figure fin, and it's cool because now I have characters that I'm happy to be able to show off and see and stuff like that. And in general, and this goes a little bit beyond Star Wars as well. I mean, I know the conversation kind of opened with Star Wars, but I think it fits in another spot, another space as well. And I want to bring another guest on. Um, let's see if I can let her know. And I know you haven't. You'll still be able to speak to it because you're just very capable of speaking to things. But it is still part of the conversation, technically, that we're having right now. And Star Wars was a really good intro to that, but it fits for this as well. Um, this coming weekend, I've got. Let's see. Hey, hey, hey.
You ready for me?
Yeah, we're ready for it. We're going to pull back, and we actually didn't speak on anything spoiler, so you would actually be able to speak from your perspective before we switch to the because I'm gonna bring another category on, and I know you'll be able to speak to that as well. Um, but Jeff and I were just actually. Oh, everybody, this is Teresa. If you've been watching our show, Teresa is she's one of our new members in the weekly watch group, and she always brings insight, intelligence, and great opinions. So I love having her on. Um, she
Excellent
is
Googler.
right, like she can research the hell out of some stuff, and she be
I'm
knowing.
a I'm a pro Googler.
Like she be knowing. She comes in and she comes prepared, and I do appreciate that. But we were just discussing like the fact that Star Wars is actually putting forth some effort to improve upon the landscape and have some representation. But some people, of course, look and feel that going for that type of change to improve somehow is a problem. And if people could just be honest and recognize how horrible a person that actually makes you, that you don't want to have more inclusion. It's not even so much that like, if people could legitimately make arguments for this TV series, the show itself, and have legitimate critiques about what the show is doing, I'd be willing to hear those and have that discussion and have that conversation. But people are like, oh, well, this show sucks. And of course, the problem with that sometimes is because Star Wars fans are already toxic, the fan base as a whole is toxic. There's people who haven't even watched this show yet because of the toxicity around it. And they're like, oh, well, it's another agenda. But it's just watch the story. There's
Like the
so much
Marvels,
story here.
like the movie The Marvels. I saw before the movie even came out,
So much story there.
people were on the forums, and I saw this one in particular, a young man of this kind of persuasion, saying that he wasn't even going to watch the movie because it was just another, of course, misusing the term woke.
Right.
It's got an agenda, whatever, just another girl power so and so. I'm not even going to watch it.
Okay.
So shut up.
Yeah.
Keep it out of your mouth then. You're not even going to give it a chance. You're not going to watch it. So why are you talking about it? I don't even need to hear from you about it. So, I mean, and that's just ridiculous. That's just ignorant. How can you even speak on the movie? You haven't given it a chance. You haven't watched it. You haven't
Yeah.
given, you don't know the
You
story.
haven't
You
even
don't know
opened your
how it's
mind to it.
told. Right. You don't know anything. And you're not willing to learn anything because the main characters of the movie don't look like you.
Or because they look like me, you think that it's some sort of other agenda other than we are looking for the best and most qualified, talented people to tell these stories. And I think a lot of times, because of the way certain things are casted, they assume everything is cast that way. Like there are things that are cast like middle-aged white woman needed to play soccer mom on Disney Channel TV show. But that's
Right.
because they've already cast the little girl and the little boy who are going to star in the show, and they're a little
Right.
white boy and little white girl. So they need a
Right.
little white mother to fit into that. But if
Right.
And for
you're
people
making a
to
show
interact
like
with and
if
have
you're
the
making a show like the
personality.
Alkalite, right, and you say we want to make a show about a person who's going to play their own twin, have Jedi powers. It's going to be a female character. They're going to be athletic. This, that, and the third, whoop de whoop, yada, 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 right? That could be anybody. And I'm sure they did look at anybody. I'm sure they came in, Amanda Stenberg, they were like, we want to get her to do a Star Wars thing. She loves Star Wars. Like, if you listen to
Mhm.
her talk about her interviews, I mean, she's on TV playing the violin, playing Star Wars songs on the violin.
Right.
Like,
Very well.
she literally is saying, like, I'm much more one of y'all than y'all think that I am,
Mhm.
and the people are choosing to still reject that. It don't matter. So it's not about being a true Star Wars fan. It's not about being a true anything except something that you can personally look at and say, I identify with this. I think that this is cool. I think that this is right because I see me. And they don't fathom the fact that like so many other people have to do that all the time with characters who don't look like them
Right.
because of the fact that there were not characters that looked like us.
Right.
And so when I look at this show and people are talking about what's wrong with it, I haven't seen anybody offer a legitimate comment about what's wrong with it. I didn't see anybody offer a legitimate comment about what was wrong with the Marvels. Not
Right.
saying they
Right.
were perfect, but you're complaining about the writing on a story that's being told in a disjointed way. They're flashing back, they're flashing forward. You're meeting people who know each other, but they're not explaining how. You're not 5 years old. This is not your first time seeing a show or a movie that is set up this way. By
Right.
episode two, in my opinion, the only thing that you can really judge is the acting good, and like, does the way that they're trying to tell the story seem like it's ever going to make sense? Because the action is there, the the but you can't go into it like this story is stupid. You don't even know what the story is.
Right. You have no idea.
The story that you know is not stupid. Somebody did something. They thought it was one person. It turned out it was the girl's evil twin who was back from the dead. Now, your mama watched that every 6 months on the soap opera happened growing
Right.
up. It was good enough for her. It's good enough for you. Like,
Wait, let me let
what are
me
we
let me make it
complaining about?
real. Let me make it real for some people. Joey Tribbiani is famous for playing his own evil twin on a show you love. So you understand what the hell's going on. You get the concept. It's not
But they don't
it's
want to get the concept.
Exactly. But and I think with what Star Wars is doing, and maybe on a lesser scale, Marvel, because the Marvel characters that the people are mad at are right out of comic books, so it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so what's
one
you
more
know
time.
what,
They where they from again?
right out of
The
the
comic?
comic
Okay.
book.
Okay.
They
Okay. I
didn't
just
just make Captain Marvel up yesterday.
right. Okay. I just
And
and
they want to
surprisingly, she has the
approach,
same personality in the comics.
right. But they want to
Well, you know,
approach
I don't read
no
Captain Marvel comics for real like that. Ever since they made it a woman, I stopped reading that.
Well,
It's
yeah,
like,
Right,
that's
because you
they
was
they
reading
didn't
because
read
you was
that.
reading Marvel. Right, right. Because Marvel was a top title. Stop. Ever since she took off that little swimsuit with the S on the chest,
Well,
maybe
that's
that's
probably
where you
why they were
stopped.
mad.
That's why you started
Right.
reading. Now that she was a badass, military chick who was kicking ass and had all these powers,
Fully
you know,
clothed.
tell it what it is. But I'm sorry, Teresa, you were making a point there. These
Well,
characters come right out of the comics.
right. But I think some people, certain people, the toxic element of the fandom want to look at it like Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars people, they're just trying to be woke. So they're just trying to introduce all of these people of color, you know, different genders for no apparent reason, other than to be woke. And my thing is, even if that's the case, even if it is a diversity program or whatever, so what? I mean,
It's not lacking as a result.
right. I mean, so what? They want to make it more diverse. What they want is all of our money.
When you
right.
know better, you
They
do
want
better.
your money. They want you to go by the Luke Skywalkers and the Han Solos and the Anakin Skywalkers or whatever.
They literally
But
had
they
a meeting.
also they
Right.
know that we're not all. I don't want the what's his name? Lando Calrissians. I want somebody, that looks like me. So that's
Right.
what they're doing. They're going to bring in those third sisters, and I haven't
Uh,
watched the Acolyte, so I don't know what the character is. They're going to bring in these characters
twin.
who look like me, who I can identify t- with. So I'll go spend my money on that. That's what they want to do. It's not about being woke. It's
It
not
is
about
all about that dollar.
kumbaya. They
That's the
want
only color Disney trying
everybody's
to introduce
money.
more of green.
Right.
That's a clip right there. That is the only color Disney trying to introduce more green.
And I don't have a problem with that. Even if that is their motivation, at the bottom line is what it's giving me is somebody who looks like me that I can, that
And
I
what it
can
is too is showing that they respect our dollar because they know we're gonna spend
exactly.
it.
Exactly.
They look at it. They like you saw all them reports this weekend talking about everybody being shocked. Bad Boys 4 did what it did. It's like, excuse me, y'all quit on Will Smith.
Right.
We didn't do
Right.
shit.
We were just waiting for,
And we y'all look back like, yeah, come on, who's with me? Not me, brother.
right.
I'm
And you know what?
I'm here to
Let's
see
you
Mike
know what?
Lowry.
The name of this show is Let's Talk About It. So hey, hell, let's talk about it. If Will had gotten into it with maybe anybody else,
No, not even anybody else. It would have had to be Denzel or Sam Jackson. He would have had
Yeah.
to slap like Sidney Poitier or Oprah or somebody for
Right.
black people to
let,
be like,
let me
nah,
tell you something. Because he was not fit to get canceled over Chris Rock.
And
absolutely not.
and what he did too,
Not
at the
by us.
situation, it would have been different, had it been for a different reason. But
Right.
Chris Rock was out there spouting off,
He
just
went
saying
off
some
script.
real off color stuff about the man's wife. And it was ugly anyway. At
Yeah.
the Oscars, it was just
And it
wrong. And
wasn't the
that's why
first
so
time.
many of us didn't cancel Will Smith because somebody needed to shut his little dumb ass up.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Nah, people, ooh, Facebook that
okay.
week.
Okay. So
Right?
because we're not gonna
Ooh,
do that one. But what
we
I will
can't. I
say
don't
is
care.
if we can, let me just bring your attention to. I know. I'm sorry. I don't want to do that.
Sam's trying
There
to be
we go.
politically correct.
No, 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 no. The only reason I bring this up is because House of the Dragon versus Game of Thrones. Let me tell you
Oh,
something.
because one of them got black people in it.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
And the other one
I
got a million people on it and none of them were black.
I watched Game of Thrones. I did. I didn't watch it during the hype. I watched it, a little bit after the initial hype because I was curious and I wanted to see it. And I like sword and sorcery and dragons and all of that type of shit. So, I was definitely curious. I was going to check it out. Because I didn't jump on it right when, because at the time I didn't have HBO, I wasn't going to go out and get HBO just to watch this show. I was not at the water cooler talking about Game of Thrones. I think when I started watching it, it was in like season 5 or something like that. And I then was like, okay, let me check out this Game of Thrones. By the 3rd episode, I was like, yo, okay,
Right.
I see why people, okay, that was your homie. That was your man's right there. Okay, wow. Stuck with it, made through the series and everything. And yeah, was very, very aware of who was there and who wasn't. Just call who was there and who wasn't. And when I finally saw a couple people on the show, I was like, yo, I want them to survive at all costs. Like, I don't care what happened to not nobody else. I want Missandei and Grey Worm to get up off this island and go live happily ever after. I want that for them. And I wanted Tyrion to have a great life at the end. And I started noticing like the characters that I was rooting for. Interesting. And I use this word very loosely, but all of the diverse characters that were on the show. Fast forward, House of the Dragon. I've invested into this whole Game of Thrones thing. I started watching House of the Dragon, and I'm like, yo, there's a whole family, and he's the man on this island. Like, oh, his daughter. Oh, wait. So he's married to. Okay, where was y'all at? Wait a minute. So of course, then it becomes one of those things where unintentionally, like I was talking earlier, when you watch something, given that this takes place before the events of Game of Thrones, it's still kind of like, okay, wait. So where everybody else at? We got a whole family. Obviously, y'all came from someplace, somewhere. Did y'all just move to Westeros and there's like Easteros or something? Y'all on the east side? What's happening? Because I need to know. And you hear him talk about like he's the lord of the ships and that sort of thing. And so yeah, maybe he does have to hop on a boat across the seas, and that's where all the other people are. But he came over here, did his thing, and he's a lord, and he has his castle and all of this land and property, his family as well. Like, and it's good to see that kind of thing, and it's got me excited. So it's like I'm gonna have my white dreads ready come Sunday. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's one of those things where it's like it was such a noticeable exclusion in Game of Thrones. I'm not mad, and I don't feel pandered that they tried to correct it with House of the Dragon.
Well, and the thing about it too is that that's again another instance of them understanding who a fan base, who they thought a fan base would be with the original creation, and who they realized the fan base was in the sequel. Because that Dem Thrones hashtag was moving on Sunday
Yes.
nights. I have never seen an episode of Game of Thrones, and I know all the names you said. I know what the Red Wedding is. I know what Hodor. I know the Wall. I know Brannister and the motherfuckers in the wheelchair and the Ice King.
Yeah.
And I've seen all this. I know Jon Snow came back from the dead. I know he was standing in the field about to kill a whole bunch of people, him by himself, and a big ass sword.
Right.
all because of the black people who watched Game of Thrones.
Right.
Exactly.
And that did numbers for them. And if you think nobody at HBO, the network that brought you The Wire and Insecure and a whole bunch of other black stuff, you think they're not going to see a hashtag like that and say, if we don't put and usually here's the issue. There usually is not someone in the room who will say this. If we don't put some black people in the next Game of Thrones, we're going to have a PR nightmare.
Yeah.
Same way we had a PR nightmare when they tried to make that Civil War show where slaves never got freed or some bullshit like that. And black people was like, pardon me, you want to make a what now? So HBO and Star Wars, I think, are doing a good job of listening to a consumer base that I think a lot of people in the larger geekosphere have, to be fair to many of them, not had an opportunity to be around in here just because of the segregated nature of our country. Unfortunately for them, they have not had a chance to be around a lot of black geeks. They've not had a chance to be around a lot of women who are geeks. Some of that is on them as well, though. Sometimes they're not the most welcoming, and we not just gonna be like, please like me. Like, I don't care. Like, I watch this fucking movie by myself. Like, Star Wars is a franchise that I enjoy, but I rarely engage in public conversation about it. Like, people be shocked by how much I know about Star Wars
Right.
when I start talking Star Wars, because I don't talk Star Wars all the time.
You know what? When we did our therapy, I was like, okay, I got a whole Star Wars wall, and I was like, I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm a Trekkie, but
Right.
I mean, I had to know so much Star Wars from my last job that I picked up on it fast. So I'm like, oh, this is cool. It's just, but then you just get into the weeds of the geekosphere that surrounds it, and you're like, I don't really like it here, bro. Like, can I just have the movies only package where like
right.
I just watch them, I like them, and I ain't gotta, because you know we used to have to analyze, you know, what sells, who are the characters that sell, and the thing that sells the most is the characters that got helmets on for a reason, because them shits look cool.
Anybody.
Same reason why Spider-Man wears a full mask.
Yep.
And it's like, you know, white people will see that character for so long and associate it directly with Peter Parker and miss the entire point where the, you know, creator slash, you know, partial creator, however you want to look at that situation, of the character basically was like, we cover his whole face because he is a character that needs to be able to be anybody. So when you are watching a show and a black boy pulls off the Spider-Man mask, you know how stupid you are when you say, I don't know, still just not Spider-Man. We just need to call him something else. It's like, you don't get it. You don't get the character that you claim to love. You love Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
You don't love Spider-Man.
Right.
Like, this is not a Batman Bruce Wayne situation where Batman is like, Batman is the real person.
Right.
It's like, no, Peter Parker got real bills, real problems.
He got bills in his name as Peter.
Right. That nigga about to flip back to an eviction notice.
Like, you know, and I would say I still go back to the idea that when you know better, you do better. And I applaud the idea that there's more than one type of story to tell, that there's more than one type of person to have an experience. And sometimes a different person having that experience changes the experience. And there are situations where using the ACOLYTE in this Star Wars world, the only thing that should make a difference about the fact that this young lady is having these situations occur is the fact that she's force sensitive, that she can use the force. That should be the most prevalent part of who she is, because there's nothing in the Star Wars hierarchy or society, so to speak, that says someone's going to look at her and judge her because of who she is, the mother. Because Shmi Skywalker was a little sand rat, you know what I'm saying? And not speaking ill of the actress who played the character, but the character of Shmi Skywalker was owned by Waddle, and you know what I'm saying, she was a slave, and Anakin as a result was a slave. And you know what I'm saying? Like, did nobody immediately look and think like, oh well, that's not right. He shouldn't be doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the story that they decided to go with. That was who that character was. It would have looked really interesting if that had been the same story with this character, for example. Somebody probably was like, yeah, let's not do that. You know what I'm saying? And what's really crazy is this young lady is doing such an amazing job in this dual role. And anytime you watch anything where somebody does a dual role, you find out if that person can act or not.
She can act her ass off, bro.
Like when I tell you, literally, we were watching this, and my wife asked, "Who is this? Like, who are these twins?" I was like, "No, I didn't." I let like half the episode go, and I was like, "No, that's the same. That's one person." She was like, "Wait, but how are they in the room talking to?" I was like, "That they can." They can do just green screen for that. They can put two people because you see like they're not like facing each other, and it's the same way Raven talks to Raven on the TV show. And she was like, and then she was like, "Wait, so that's not two different people?" This girl literally had her convinced that these were two different people. And what's interesting is, of course, you get to another episode and you get to see the little girls, the younger versions of these characters. I had to like really like wait and watch and see it. I'm like, okay, these are twins. Are these actually twins, or are these just sisters, two little girls that just look a lot alike? Or like I was really trying to put that together. But even so, I absolutely believe that this is Osha and this is May, and that these are two separate people. And it takes a hell of a lot of talent to act in a way where you can be two different people.
Mm-hmm.
And you have people like James McAvoy, who was like six different people in Split, and you know what I'm saying. So it's like anytime.
Never seen it.
Well, I know you haven't because it's on your like do not watch list. Um, but James McAvoy does a fantastic job. Even going back like hell, you could take any number of movies where the actor did a dual role, and not everybody does a great job at it. You know, it takes talent to be able to convincingly be two different people.
I mean, I just look at it and I say with this show, what is it? I think, I've said a lot on here about, I feel like one of the big issues is we've lost the art of critique. We just say whether we're looking at it a lot of times, people are looking at it like, did they make the movie I wanted them to make?
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, yeah, that's one, that's an assessment. Did they make the movie I wanted to make? No. Okay, cool. That doesn't mean it wasn't good because it wasn't what you wanted them to make. Now, when you look and you say, what is the goal of the director or the studio or whatever, like, that's how you judge whether or not something was successful or not. If something was good, were the acting performances, convincing. And that's the whole thing with the newer Star Wars trilogy, right? For all the complaints that I have about how disjointed that story is, for all the business reasons, and as much as I hate that they took the hard pivot that they did with like focusing so much on Rey, like nobody complained about the acting in any of those movies. So why are you harassing the actors?
Yeah.
Do what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I don't understand when it comes to the criticism and the critique. Like, Kathy Kennedy gets all the hate. She's not directing all these movies and all these shows. She's not writing all these movies, all these shows. She is guiding the overall direction. I think she's had an impossible task, and I think she's done a solid job. I think that Disney got a little ahead of themselves in terms of like how much Star Wars the market could handle. Right. I think they did that with Marvel also, and they're looking back and they're saying, all right, this has a tipping point. This has like a point where it's too much is too much. There is a such thing as too much.
Exactly.
And Now we're being more
Nuance.
strategic about the stories that we choose to tell.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't mean the black ones automatically get cut just because they're cutting the Star Wars series and you're like, cool, they're gonna cut all the woke stuff. Actually, no, we're as woke as we've ever been,
Right.
and you're gonna be okay. I promise. Because when all said and done, you still got them three movies from 1977 to go back,
That
tuck
didn't
you
have no
in at
black
night.
people in them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
going back home. Go back to Dixieland, far, far away in the galaxy, far, far away. Whatever it is that's bothering you so much about having to see whatever it is you got to see in these movies that you don't like, or these shows that as soon as a black person shows up, you think that an agenda shows up with them. I mean, it's wholly unfair. Like, but also, I don't really care. Like, yeah, I'm gonna talk about the blackness. I'm gonna talk about the black characters. I'm gonna feel at times like I connect to a character more because I can connect to their performance more because they're black. I'm the one being honest. You're the one that's lying and saying it's just about the art, it's just about the movie, it shouldn't be about anything else. Okay, then like where are all the black movies you're going to see? Where are all your black actresses and music and all this stuff that you connect to? Why is all your favorite stuff just white versions of black stuff that was already made? Like you have to like get honest with yourself, and because you've been in such a homogenized space, especially as a Star Wars fan, but as a Star
Listen,
Trek fan, I have to say the same. You've been in such a homogenized space where maybe you have not interacted with people in the fandom but coming from a different perspective than you,
right.
and now you've looked up and you're like, well, where were all these people in the beginning? And it's like America was segregated. They couldn't even buy a house in your neighborhood when Star Wars came out. Of course, you don't know any like middle-aged black people who like Star Wars. You don't know any middle-aged black people. All your favorite black people you see on TV, and they wear a number on their back. And as long as they shut up and play whatever ball that they on TV
Exactly.
to play,
And don't have an
cool.
opinion about anything. That's
And
not your
that's why you
job.
don't like the actors, because actors have opinions and they're asked their opinions for things. Athletes, the number of athletes who have to stand up and speak about things and speak or give interviews is few and far between. They don't call everybody to the press room after a game. You know what I'm saying? Some of them get to shower and just go home, and you love them.
Be happy.
But that don't work
That's
with
all they got to do.
actors. Actors got to sell the movie. Actors have to sell themselves. And so these
And
people
that
are
whole
being
press
real
circle.
and they're being honest about trying to get people who are in our community that has a stigma as well about these things and kind of looking at it like that's for white people. And there's black people like us who are trying to, drive conversation and say, actually, it's not. It's for everybody. I love it. This person loves it. This person loves it. That person loves it. We're all black and we're all even diverse in like the kind of black people that we are, where we're from, what we like, what we do. And this thing has been able to be a conduit that brings us all together. But for some reason, like everybody doesn't see it that way. They see themselves getting pushed out because they're used to being the one that's doing all the talking. And
Hmm.
now they're in a position where sometimes you have to listen and they don't like what they're hearing. And it's like, well, it's too bad because we're not about to go back to not talking. Or y'all can go over there and talk and let us come over here and talk and cool. But you ain't got to hop in the chat and be like, well, I ain't like it. Okay, we did. So bye. Like unless you have some like completely like morally reprehensible reason why we shouldn't be supporting this art, like bye. Like what do you want us to do about the fact that you liked, what do you want us
Yes,
to do
we
about
will.
the fact that you didn't like something that we just spent an hour talking about that we did like?
And the
Like
problem a
that's
lot of times is that that's the only opinion they have about it. They didn't like it.
it's like,
And
well,
that's
thank
why
you.
they're mad. Because for so long, they've been catered to. Everything was so, like you said, homogenized. It came on, you automatically gonna like it because it's what you're used to. You see yourself in it. And now it's a little different. You don't like it. You haven't had to form an educated opinion about it before because it was all what you liked. And now
Or you
here,
hearing, or you hearing the perspective on it that you had never even considered before, because you just been used to talking to people who look like you,
right.
and then lo and behold, here comes somebody with a different perspective. And rather than be like, oh wow, here's somebody who can help me think about something I like in a different way, oh now it's a threat.
Right.
Now you mad. Now we don't know. Now you on the incel chat. You took the red pill because a black dude gave you his opinion on Star Wars on Facebook. Like how fragile? How fragile? So for me,
It's
I'm in a place too where I'm kind of just like, people. We gotta take it back, man. The whole like I get it. Like we just different. Like black people not finna just let you be like disrespectful and just talk shit about this show with this black girl on here just because you not aware of whatever issues that you have. And then when somebody start checking you, now you the victim. Like it's not gonna work if you and you think about all the years that you went with no Star Wars, no nothing at all.
yeah.
And the only reason that they feel like Star Wars is something that is viable in the marketplace is because Latino men buy almost as much Star Wars memorabilia as white men in America. Fact. The Latino community is the second largest Star Wars consumer market in the United States.
That's wild. I would have never imagined.
And they are, in my opinion, largely responsible for the resurgence of Star Wars as cool, as in like can be part of street culture. Like Darth Vader's everywhere, Boba Fett's everywhere, like pinup Princess Leia's. Like we like to the point where Star Wars develops style guides and art guides that are like Latin themed in their styling for us to sell
Have a
on
Millennium
Cinco de
Falcon
Mayo.
on my lowrider.
Well, they used to do stuff like that for real,
Yeah.
but now they got serious and they're like everything has to be like in universe. But they used to
Gotcha.
do stuff like that for real, for real. But it is like it'll be like a Darth Vader head, but looks like one of those like painted skulls. It's
Sugar
the whole
skull.
style guide. Yeah, it's the whole style guide of stuff like
Okay.
that. Because we used to have to create it ourselves, and it was so much back and forth that Star Wars was like, all right, we need to obviously start doing this every year. And you know, that thing that you think that you're propping up all on your own when you're ready to stand up and beat your chest, like we were the ones who were here since 1977. It's like y'all were just the loud ones. A lot of people was there, bro. For Star
Yeah.
Wars to make, like when Star Wars came out, movie tickets was like $2. For it to make the amount of money that it made, it was more than just white boys going to see that movie.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just because we didn't walk around wearing it on t-shirts and doing all this, don't mean that we were not a part of it, and does not mean that we don't deserve to have some sort of representation when all is said and done in that story.
I mean, that goes back to what you were saying earlier, as far as growing up, and even I recall, like I was fortunate in that my dad liked comic books, so it was permissible for me to, like, I had a summer subscription, and we would get the new comic in the mail every week, or we would go by the comic shop on Friday when he got off work. We would go pick up our, get our pull list and go pick up our comics. And, that was something that I just thought was the most amazing thing ever, to get a new comic every week. And so much so that now I have apps on my phone that allow me to read comics whenever, anytime, all the time. And the day and age is different, but it's like I remember as a kid, there was no problem with me like having a comic book. There's no problem with me like having certain, toys or collectible action figures, that sort of thing. But like, no, I wasn't wearing a Star Wars t-shirt anywhere. And it was one of those like weird, this is where we draw the line kind of thing with my parents. Like when we go out in public, I'm gonna wear this nice shirt. It's gonna be a button-down shirt. And it's like, and I think that's probably why I have such an infatuation with my t-shirts today as an adult, because I can wear what the I want to wear. And so, like, given that there was just this really weird restriction, because when I was younger, I went to a private school. There was, of course, like, uniforms and other type of stuff. Then I came to public school, and I was living with a single mom at the time, blah 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 blah. So it was like I had a luxury of being able to get the cool shirts and stuff that I wanted. And my mom probably would have been a little bit more tolerable and allowed me to have that type of stuff.
But to be fair, that shit was not available in the marketplace like that at that point either.
No, it wasn't.
And that's what I keep trying to say. Like all this cool stuff that we're now, Target is a place where you can walk in and get Star Wars stuff, is not because white men buy Star Wars.
Yeah.
White men are one of the lowest demographics of shoppers at Target. So if you were the reason why anything was happening, they would not have. Target is for women.
It's for the ladies.
We used to design shirts and they would say, this shirt is cool, but you have to remember that our t-shirt customer is actually women buying shirts for their husbands, not the actual men coming in and seeing stuff. And so,
it's funny you say that, because when my wife buys me t-shirts, sometimes I find that I like the design of the shirt, but why the sleeves always be like up here? And I have to ask her, like, babe, what did you get this out of the midsection? Is this a man's t-shirt? Are you sure? Is this a unisex t-shirt? I don't know, because it's feeling a little weird under the arms here. Like the sleeve is a little short.
No, that's the factory cutting corners.
But it's one of those things where, like you said, she goes and she will pick out different shirts, and again, I got like over 100 graphic t-shirts. Obviously, I'm not buying them all. You know what I'm saying? Some of them are gifted. Other people are buying
stealing.
Them. It's like, what? Father's Day is coming up. I bet I'm going to call it right now. I bet money I get at least 2 t-shirts. Between like my parents, my kids, my wife, I bet I get at least 2 t-shirts. And they will probably be either Superman or Star Wars. Because those are the 2. Every once in a while, like I will go and buy myself a Marvel shirt, so I have a Marvel shirt. But like this collection in my room, all of this Star Wars stuff I have, you'd be surprised how little I had to purchase. Every holiday, every gift, every time somebody gets something, the consumerism aspect of it's like, oh, you like Superman? Hey, I found these. What is this thing? I have these gas station towels. They're like folded up into this little bitty square about this big. And when you open the packaging, you wet it and you can like stretch this thing. It's just, why do I want that? What am I going to do with that? But it has Superman on it, and I saw it and I thought of you. Really? Okay. Well, thank you. And so it's like the consumerism part of it, as for anything, is got to be a humongous thing, because it's one of those things. Like my sister-in-law, every time I see some consumer product that is Harry Potter, I like stop and look at it, and I'm like, you think Kim will like that? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I know she's read them, and see, she's an avid reader, so she read all of the books. That was her thing. And then, of course, because she read all the books, the movies came. She wanted to see the movies, so she saw the movies. And then when the new book came out before the movie, like she was right there with it. Boom, boom, boom. And so it's like her whole identity is not Harry Potter, you know. But it's like it is one of those things where it's like if I failed to come up with something good, I know she likes Harry Potter. I can get something Harry Potter. I have some glasses in there that say I drink and I know things because she knows I'm a Game of fan. So you know what I'm saying. So it's like this is just the best time to be involved with geekdom and pop culture in general. Because, like you said, access is there, the stuff is out there, and it is great because it hasn't always been out there, and it is.
And you need to remember that it has not always been out there. So like, why you cutting the fool and being like this, and then you gonna get on the forums and create it to where Disney's gonna be like, you know, Star Wars is just such a toxic franchise. We've decided to shelve it and stay away from it for a little while. And you're like, why do you have to take? It's like because you didn't know how to act. Same thing with my son. I tell him what to do on the iPad. If I walk over and you're not doing what I told you to do on the iPad going away. Not just for today. iPad going away for the rest of the week. And you better hope it's not Tuesday.
Didn't know how to act.
Because you didn't know how to act. It's like that episode of The Simpsons when they get the radioactive man one.
Yeah.
And then and it's like it falls apart in the rain. It's like, oh, because we couldn't share. That's the first episode of The Simpsons I ever saw. I was not allowed to watch The Simpsons. And so one day my grandmother wasn't home and The Simpsons came on. And I was just like, I'm gonna watch this one.
You know what? I'm gonna keep walking back and forth through the room, so I'm not watching it. She come in, I was passing by, and it was just on. Like,
oh no, we ain't had no remote.
You had to run over
the floor model.
You had to stand right in front of it.
Right. You press the buttons like this. No, I think one of the coolest things that comes out, and this is something that is really interesting to me, and I'm gonna point this last little thing out. In the new James Gunn Superman movie, they've talked about the David Cornsweet, the images that have come out for him and whatnot, and see if I can try to make this picture. Make this
David Cornsweet.
Isn't that his name? Yeah,
something like that.
Sam, you know I don't be knowing white people names like that.
David Cornsweet. Yes.
Cornsweet? Like C-O-R-N?
C-O-R-E-N.
Oh. Corin Sweat.
Not like sweaty corn.
Right.
Oh, like
Corinzwet. Like we'll throw some syllables in there. Corinzwet. But nonetheless, the image from the new Superman logo is heavily inspired by Kingdom Come. I've often spoke how that particular iteration of Superman is my favorite version of Superman, the Kingdom Come. We got a chance to see Brandon Routh play that version of the character on the Infinite Crisis crossover that they did in the Arrowverse. And he had like the little graying on the side, the temples and what. And I was just so happy that it was Brandon Routh, even though he plays another character. But nonetheless, it was great that he came back because it was like his version of Superman from Superman Returns is now old. And anyway,
I enjoyed that as well.
And seeing that, and that's a whole other tangent in my head. So I'm gonna pause that and come back to it. But that Superman logo, that's the Kingdom Come logo. That is my favorite version. That is the one that I have the tattoo of. So I just wanted on record that I already had this tattoo before that got shown.
But you didn't get it because of David Cornsweet.
Right. Like James, I'm not such a James Gunn fanboy, You know what I'm saying? Because that's what I'm gonna hear. Like, oh, you really like that new Superman, huh? Nah, bro. This is
Zack
Kingdom
Snyder,
Come.
Zack Snyder fans gonna be on your head.
I
Know how
mean,
they
come with it. Come with it. And it's what it's like. It has been very difficult over the years to acquire anything that specifically had Kingdom Come because it was a graphic novel. It was a graphic novel. It was a short run, limited series kind of thing. It, there hasn't been anything other than just that one thing. And so trying to find like a t-shirt that has the Kingdom Come logo on it. I have a hat that has the Kingdom Come logo on it. Just the other day, I was talking with the wife and you know what I'm saying? And sure enough, it came up. I was like, I have to get an all black Superman shirt. Like I need an all black shirt with a red Superman. Like it's a Superboy shirt. That's when you look it up online. That's what it is. It's Superboy. Anybody that watches Young Justice, Connor Kent, that's what he wears. That black shirt with the red S on it. They now have a Kingdom Come shirt, black and red. Because that's the new logo, I'm about to see a lot of Kingdom Come shit popping up as we get closer and closer to this James Gunn movie. Like that's going to be the new symbol, because like the Man of Steel, the Henry Cavill Man of Steel, the S logo that was from that movie that popped up as the official logo for a while, and that always kind of goes back to the very standard. You see, this is item I 3D printed. It's my little phone stand here, but black with a shield. And now I'm about to be able to get all of this Kingdom Come logo because we're in the height of geekdom. That is going to be a very big movie. I'm sure come Halloween, we will be able to find more blonde lock wigs for people who want to do their Game of Thrones. I've seen some very impressive cosplay by people with their blonde locks. And because I was at I didn't actually make it this year, but last year when I went to Ren Fair, and I feel like I might even have those pictures in one of the group threads. Like there were people there, and of course you're at the Renaissance Festival, and people are going to do some cosplay from time to time. Game of Thrones fits right in as the time period to do that kind of cosplay. And sure enough, there were people there who had the blonde locks, and I'm looking at them, and they see me, and I see them, and we nod at each other, we're like, "Hey, I see you, okay." And we have that.
That's what they don't like.
Right.
Coming in here doing all this damn nodding
from across the room. What is it?
Right.
Hey.
That'd be the worst. Well, y'all know each other? No.
Well, I mean, but you know what? Actually, I had somebody. Twitter was funny the other day. They were like, all the questions you wanted to ask for black people, put them in here. And somebody was like, "What's the difference between a head up nod and a head down nod?" I was like, "Yeah, I can't explain that to you. It's just
day and night.
You don't need to know.
I was like, I can't explain that one to you.
Just say hello.
It's
like
just,
I tell you, but I have to kill you.
Right. It's just, it's like there's a certain familiarity.
Because even if it's like this, a head up nod from a black person is different from a head up. A head up nod from a black person is different from a head up nod from a black person you do know. And that's completely different than a head up nod from a white person.
Yeah.
Whether you know them or not. Unless they went to a black high school.
Even then, sometimes it still doesn't translate over well.
Facts.
Even then, it still doesn't translate over well. And I think it has a lot to do with the
rhythm.
The tipping of the hat and whatnot.
And since you mentioned Crisis on Infinite Earths a few minutes ago, and now we're talking about the head nod, one of my favorite parts of that little series is when Black Lightning comes in and everybody's standing around, and he's looking around, and he's speaking or whatever to everybody. He looks around and he makes eye contact with John Diggle, and he goes, I screamed.
Right.
I just screamed. I was
Right.
like,
And
okay,
then,
that was
it's just like
perfect. And I probably rewound it and watched it a couple more times.
it that's one of those times where somebody who was part of the, and you know what, they may have even ad-libbed that part.
They
That
may
may not have
have,
even,
right.
that it may not have even been in the script, but it was.
But you know where it
That's
came from. Either there was somebody black in the writer's room, or they
the
ad-libbed it.
the actors definitely somebody the actors had to go to the director and be like, look, bro,
Right. You're not
we
gonna
ain't
understand this.
yeah, we not just gonna be the only two black dudes in the room and not acknowledge it in any way.
Right.
Yeah.
You got too many black people watch these shows for that.
And it just, that is, yeah, that you brought that up. It's like, yeah, I remember that. That was really, and it was one of those things where it's like, when I saw it, I think it was just so what I expected it to. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
I don't even think that I acknowledged it what it was at the time, other than to be like, right, right. That was like literally my reaction to it, and I just kept right watching through, because it was like, yeah, that's how that goes.
Right.
That's exactly what would have happened right there.
Completely appropriate.
And anytime you have
And
those
didn't step
moments,
on nobody's toes, and she didn't make nobody feel no kind of way, unless you just like, ugh, why they gotta do that? It's like, why not?
Right. But anybody who would have been upset by it didn't get it, you know?
Right.
there you go.
It's like, well, the white people didn't have to head nod. Like, yeah, because it's 10 of them,
Right.
and they all in charge.
Right.
Right. Ah, okay. We got a lot of content coming up here soon. We've got, of course, we've got Game of Thrones or House of Dragon this weekend. The Boys season. What are we on now? Season 4. And
4.
if I'm not mistaken, the first 3 episodes have already dropped. And I saw Miss Brandy, insert cool nickname, saw her quick review, and I'm just like, I love that format of review. So now I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta watch it, because it's like it's a spoiler review with no context. So it's just like you see these things, and I'm like, I have to know what that means. So I'll be checking that out real soon. End of the day, let me say, if you have not watched The Acolyte, don't believe the hype. Go back to a time where you learned how to enjoy things.
Yeah.
Stop looking at everything with this intention of finding a reason to dislike it. It may
Here's
not.
my suggestion too. Don't read reviews. Watch it and just decide if you like it on your own. Then enter the conversation. Because I feel like what a lot of people are doing now is they read a review and then they watch it to verify if they liked your review. Versus like, it don't matter if I liked it, did you like it?
Right.
Yeah.
Because like my review of it is not even going to be about whether I liked it or not. It's going to be about whether or not it was successful at what it was trying to do. It could be successful and I not like it. It could be terrible. It could be unsuccessful and I love it. And that's just my personal preferences. It's not about trying to create this worldwide standardized canon of what is and what is not good in the Star Wars universe.
Or in
cares, bro?
any universe for that matter.
Yeah, who cares, bro? Like, people like it. You don't? Cool. There's some stuff you like. There's a couple movies made back in 1977. I'm sure you can go on eBay and find some print copies of all the non-canonical books that you're like griping over. There's so much stuff out there. The Christmas specials on Disney Plus. They got the Ewoks cartoon. All that old stuff that you love that don't got none of us in it, so we don't trigger you. It's out there for public consumption. Just go out
And the
there.
thing about it is, if new stuff is coming out, that does not erase what is. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Simple as that. having new, more, having
like they
extra.
say, we will not replace them. We don't want to. We just want to watch Star Wars, my boy. That's
That's
it.
it. I just want more lightsaber battles, and I have a show that's going to give me some lightsaber battles. Please stop talking and let me enjoy the show. Just let me have this show.
I literally was watching it like I'm gonna be so curious as to how they find a way to be mad at this. And they, you know, did not disappoint. So kudos to you guys, I guess.
They were mad before it started.
Yeah.
They were mad on uh what they call them? Press releases
Oh yeah.
and
Casting
trailers.
announcements.
Yeah. So they were just ready to be mad.
And honestly, that is, I think that's one of the things that has changed about today's society. And I'm just as guilty of it as I think anyone else. Having instant access to have a voice that can be heard by hundreds, thousands, millions of people at any given moment. Every day, somebody says something that goes viral. Somebody puts their random intrusive thought, they type it out on Twitter, and it blows up. And now you start looking for other random intrusive thoughts that this person has had to find out, like, oh, there's some kind of comedic genius. No, they said one funny thing one time that you agreed with, and it got popular, and a lot of people agreed with it. You know what I'm saying? But because everybody has access like that, everybody has a voice, everybody can say something, they can do just what I'm doing. They can get a YouTube channel. It literally costs nothing. You know what it costs? It costs having cellular service, because you don't even have to have a laptop to get on YouTube. You go live with a cell phone as long as you've got data. So it's like it's super easy to have access, to get out there, to have opinions. And we have found that more and more people, I've been kind of looking, witnessing, and watching the trend. More and more people are getting the notoriety, they're getting the engagement. And I'm gonna do a small promo right here. Look up JPNT 17 and find a video on Instagram called Things That I Like. It gives a full breakdown of how engagement and algorithms and all of that type of stuff works. And it was like so good, in fact, that I was like, you know what? I'm going to change the algorithm and try to put more positivity out there myself. And I'm going to just start jumping on this trend of I'm going to do a video once a week, things that I like. And I'm just going to go around my room. I'm going to pick something up and I'm going to be like, this is today's video of things that I like. This thing right here that I like. Because it is important to have more positive content. It seems like the easiest way to get that engagement is to have a hot take on something. If I get on here and have a screenshot of me looking angry and pointing to the acolyte, or the actress, and being like, people are going to click on that and want to be like, oh, wow, this black guy doesn't like the acolyte. Oh, he'll confirm what I'm thinking.
He's one of the good ones.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he'll confirm what I'm thinking. And I promise you, I've had thoughts to be like, I'm gonna make a thumbnail like that, and then be like, man, let me tell you, the Acolyte is a fantastic show, and I'm so happy you're here. Let me tell you every reason I love this show. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's genuinely, like, I feel like so many people, because one of the things that I hear a lot of times from people that I know that do reviews and things like that, and some people that I talk with, like, everything is trash. Like, everything is trash. I'm so, like, I can't even take something being trash as a critique. If your response to me is like, I mean, I tried to watch, man, but this is trash. Okay, that's not giving me anything. Obviously, this conversation is over. You should know me by now to know that you got to give me something. I need
Right.
specifics.
Why is it trash?
What was the thing that happened in the show? I just couldn't get into it. What's it about? I mean, I don't even know. Okay, well, then that's why you can't get into it because you don't know what the fuck you're watching. Let's stop. Let's just stop the conversation because you're about to piss me off. You know what I'm saying? And that's literally
Right.
how I am. So it's like I try not to be like that, but I get like that very quickly. Because, like Jeff said, if you can't tell me, if you can't articulate what it is about the thing that you do or don't like, your opinion means nothing to me, and I don't know how to engage with you on this content.
And that doesn't mean that you are wrong about not liking it,
You may
but
not, you
you
but you will
gotta,
know why.
yeah, you
You
haven't
will know
done
the
enough
thing.
self-examination to understand how to even have the conversation I'm interested in having. And that's what I've found. I've realized that others, everybody's just not on. And when I say not, everybody's not on my frequency, because I don't want it to make it sound like they're not on my level, like I'm higher or lower. But we just operating at a different frequency. Like you're about engagement. You just if people yelling, that's fine. As long as somebody paying attention to me. If people cussing me out, that's fine. As long as people paying attention to me, as long as like I'm getting people to come through, as long as I'm getting the clicks, like that's all I care about. And I don't care about none of that. I
Yeah.
just want to have a good conversation. I want to be able to express how I feel. I want to be able to hear how other people feel. I want to be challenged. I want to challenge. And I want to not I want to be in a situation where I could talk about being black and how things in the geek culture affect me as a black person without feeling like anybody's gonna ever pull me to the side and be like, you could ease up on the Kunta Kinte spiel. That would
No,
be great. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
no, it's not happening. And so for people who are, like you said, engagement minded, it makes sense that those people would be like, I don't really get like why what I'm doing is a problem. Because what you're really scared of is putting up a video. Like if you put up a video and it's like, I hate this thing and nobody watches it, well, that's fine. You just put out some energy on something you hate. But if you put up a video like, I love this thing, it's my most favorite thing ever, and people don't respond to it, and people in the comments like, yeah, your favorite thing sucks, then it's like, it's easy to argue with people who like something when you hate something. You don't care what they say because you ignoring them anyway. But
Right.
it's hard to ignore people who hate something that you love, and you don't put yourself out there and be like, I love this thing, and here come everybody else ready to jump on you and kick it. And I know as a Superman fan.
Like that would just hear you say that had me over here like visibly triggered. Like, well, let me tell you something. The number one thing that I see that is just it's hilarious to me, and I'm gonna take a shot at all of the Batman fans right now. As a Superman fan, I own a lot of Superman merchandise. I have a lot of Superman shirts, jackets, hats, the whole nine. Rest assured, if I go anywhere and I have on a Superman shirt and maybe a Superman hat, someone's always going to walk up with a dumbass question right up front. Oh, you like Superman? Yeah. It could just be fashion and it matches. So I get it. Nothing wrong with the question.
No, that was Superman.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, you like Superman? Like, yeah, actually, I do like Superman. I'm sitting here thinking that I'm about to get to have to, I get to have a conversation where I get to talk about Superman. 9 out of 10 times, I'm immediately going to hear, oh, I like Batman. He's better. He can beat Superman. Are you ready? Do, do you want to do this? Name a time where he beat him. Name a canonical situation or a story that's in canon where he actually beat him.
Zack Snyder.
Again, canon. We could go right there. Because see that, you know what makes that not canon? The Snyderverse. There's not a canonical story where Batman actually beats Superman. They typically don't compete like that. The Dark Knight Returns is actually an Elseworlds tale, therefore not canon. And the closest thing that there is there's Tower of Babel. In that story, there is a contingency plan that explains how he would and Superman does get gravely injured, but he wasn't even him that did it. The plans were modified, blah, 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 blah. But it's always funny to me that as a Superman fan, it's always the Batman fans who come for me when I think we're about to have like a fun conversation because they see that I'm a Superman fan and they're about to tell me characters they like, and we can talk about the team ups or the thing, or we can talk comics for a minute. And every single time, it is like, you're a Superman fan?
Bless
Yeah,
you.
Batman's better.
Thank you.
He could beat Superman. Okay. Yeah, you're right. My bad. Let me take this shirt off and get a different one. Like, what the hell do you expect me to do? Like,
Nah, man,
okay.
you gotta fight back. I'm tired. I ain't no Superman fan, but you're not about to come up here, but Batman fan, tell me nothing about nothing. That man's a criminal.
And you know, if there's one person, you have a better chance having this conversation. If you really want to have that argument, come up and tell me Shazam is better. Then I'll be stumped to be like, oh, you're a Shazam fan. Wonderful. So now the gatekeeping starts, and I'm about to put you through the ringer with the quizzes. But that's a more engaging conversation than the Batman conversation ever will be. And hey, what's going on, Miss Danielle? Miss Danielle.
I mean, for me, I feel like Batman looks cool.
Absolutely.
Batman is kind of lame.
Kind of lame.
So here's the thing, and this is typically the response I get, or this is what I hear, because when people like, I think it's very easy to understand why a person would like Superman. Like, he's like the strongest. Like, that's like, of all of the Greek gods, who's your favorite? Oh, well, I like Zeus. Zeus is lame. Really? Zeus is okay, I guess.
He's not lame, but he's extremely problematic.
Yes, I agree.
Right. No, now Zeus. Okay, not the best example. I'm just talking in terms of power, not personality.
Yeah, I know what you meant, but yeah.
No, I had to clarify that for Jeff because I get your point. Like, yeah, Zeus kind of a problem. He's absolutely a problem. But it's one of those things where it's like, obviously the strongest character, the top tier, the A1, the GOAT, if you will, in my opinion, that's the character I like. There are other like really high-end, powerful characters that are there, but there is something about the heroic nature of the character that is a standout thing for me. And with the aspect of, and I've found that over the years, all of my favorite characters are the archetype hero character. They're all kind of modeled after that. Always do the right thing. Always be a good guy. The cornball Boy Scout kind of character. That is typically the person that I'm going to associate with and find to be like my favorite version. A character like Batman is not like that. Whenever I talk to people who like Batman and Batman is their favorite, it's usually one of two things. He's rich.
White man. Oh.
Usually people like Batman because he's rich and he's human. So there's this delusional fantasy that a person could actually be Batman, not realizing the years of study and training it would take to be on par with the fighting skills that he has.
Not to mention all the atrocities your family would have to do to acquire the amount of wealth that would allow you to be able to take a sabbatical of the length of time that he took to learn all these different martial arts around the world and still come home and have enough money to build a bat cave and a bunch of gadgets.
Not to mention the mass murder that took place after the construction of the Batcave, because it wasn't Bruce Wayne and Alfred lifted nothing to build this Batcave.
No, they still down there.
You're not
he had to keep them before repairs. They down there like some little bat Oompa Loompas.
Not the bat Oompa Loompas. I love that. I've always envisioned it was a situation where after the construction of the Batcave was complete, Alfred came down, served tea, the bodies hit the floor, and they just kind of pushed them off the side of the rotating platform. And that's how that goes. Because there's no way you have that many people. And I think we talked about this one time before. I get that you're not gonna be out there just like running your mouth, because obviously you just helped this man build this very sophisticated lab and computer and got all of his data. Once you realize what you just built, that you built the Batcave, you're probably not gonna run out there and be like, I know who Batman is. But at the same time, like, you're not gonna not tell somebody you know who Batman is. It would
I
be
ain't
one of
telling
those.
nobody.
It would be one of those things where, like, you know
Nah,
what?
bro. No, you got no. You gotta go back. We talking about a man who everybody in the hood know he beat everybody up. He drive his car crazy down the street. Police can't catch him. The police when they can't handle something, they put something up in the sky to say,
call
"Hey,
him.
man." Even though we all know the police all think he criminals, they still got a light on the building to call him to come help them out. I'm not telling nobody nothing.
But check it out. You look at who Batman targets.
I was in Central City.
I'm moving to I'm moving to Bloodhaven. Okay, it's cool over there, or Tower City, where the Teen Titans are. But no, you think about the people that Batman typically interacts with, engages with. Usually, it's the organized crime. It seems like a lot of these organized crime families, like the crime families, have like these mafia-like ties. They all kind of seem to be similar type of people. It's a lot of doctors, a lot of evil doctors in Gotham. Like, you know, what kind of medical degree they getting, or, you know, some scientists and whatnot. But it's a lot of doctors. So you look at the criminal element and the people that are really getting beat up by Batman. Batman don't really seem like he be in the hood in Gotham. He be
No, you talking about later Batman. Early Batman, when he was just practicing, he was definitely down in the hood. He was beating up all kind of hoodlums.
In Batman Year One, Frank Miller, he does stop some people who are just like burglaring a house. They you know what I'm saying, they were just like literally in the house stealing TVs and stuff. And one kid almost got dropped off a fire escape. He ended up getting stabbed, and Batman got his ass handed to him that time. So there are situations where, you know, the younger practicing.
Batman got his ass beat a bunch of times. Don't let
bunch of times.
these incels fool you.
Oh, no.
I get cracked.
Look, I read, and again, think about what I'm saying. I don't believe Batman spends as much time in the hood as you think he does.
Oh, no, not no more. He got little white kids to do that for him now.
There's a reason for it. Let me tell you something.
Got little Barbara, little Tim. Little Jason.
Batman is, you talk about the definition of a problematic character, but again, most times when I talk to people and Batman is their favorite character, it is this idea or belief that anybody could actually be Batman. And let me not even say anybody, but like a rich white man could actually turn
anybody rich.
Yeah, like, you know
with
what I'm saying?
PTSD.
Severe PTSD.
You black Batman, you better cover that whole face, my boy. They running that jaw through all kinds of facial recognition.
And let me tell you something. The black man that stepped up to become Batman, full cowl.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget your gloves.
Right.
I black everything. You ain't gonna be seeing nothing on me, player.
You might not want to smile if you got them dark skinned gums.
Yeah. I would, you know what? And I would say every version of Selena, because I think even the original, well, maybe not like the 66 Batman. Well, no, because even then the first Catwoman, like Eartha Kitt. Yeah. So it is the Selena Kyle. Yeah, I think Selena is how he gets to go to the cookout. Because
Nah, man,
Bruce.
Batman ain't coming to no cookout. Not on my
No.
watch.
No.
You a cop,
Hey,
dog?
Bruce Wayne got to sponsor this thing. Like, he can
Man,
pay for all
please.
of it. The Wayne Foundation
We get
got to
Lucius
pay.
Even if
Fox.
he
We get
sponsored
Lucius
it, he can't
Fox.
come.
Look, pay what you owe, Batman. Okay, we hit it with the Riley. Pay what you owe.
Start a program in the hood where you teach some little black kids to be robbing. Start a dojo.
Cause let me tell you something. They
Back
can hit them
Kwando.
flips too. They can hit them flips. I can see them do backflips off the porch, backflips off the roof. You put a dirty mattress out there, you'll be real shocked. It's some real athletic folk out there.
See, Bruce Wayne ain't even no smart businessman. Back Kwando will have the hood going crazy.
Man, let me tell you.
But protect your neighborhood. They don't want to make no money.
They really don't. Like, you know what? We take Gotham over. We can make this thing work. And
he'll be like, "You're infringing on my You're infringing on my intellectual property."
No, Grayson was he was a circus.
He's from
kid.
the circus.
I say he was a circus kid, so that's
even
worse.
He's gonna be a weirdo regardless.
That's like he got that hobo mentality. Like, he don't care. He don't even care. He don't care at all. So now I'm gonna tell you that Jason Todd.
Yeah, Jason Todd needs his little ass whooped.
I feel like Jason Todd
he
went to
no
high
training.
School. Look, Jason Todd went to that high school you was talking about.
Yeah,
Jason Todd, the kind of robber that give you a heads up nod. And then you have you actually have Lucius Fox's son. He's was it the Signal or Batwing?
Ugh, woke Batman.
You know what I'm saying? And then my thing is, I love the fact that he didn't try to pretend that he was a Batman, but he a Signal. Completely, he's just his own thing out here.
That's what I would do too. Like, man, I ain't gonna be Batman. He crazy.
I think the only time it really kind of switched up was when you got to like Batman Incorporated. Then you started seeing like that whole like Batman as a business model, and they did that a little bit in The Dark Knight Returns, where he actually got all the gangs to start policing the street because the mutants were trying to take over. So he took over the gangs, got them to put on little Batman masks and stuff, little eye covers, and then they were the ones who started patrolling and were fighting against the mutants. Batman knew how to make some people work for him. Give him that. We'll give him that. But yeah, as a character, he is obviously not my favorite, and it is again another one of those toxic fan bases because Batman's. You say prep time and he can do anything. Like, and that is the. It's just so irritating.
It's like, we talking about Batman, we talking about Chopped. I don't want to hear nothing about no prep time, boy.
Right.
Your 2 minutes start now. Like
prep time, you better prep this ass whooping.
No, it's great. I've actually seen there's comics out there where it's just a lot of people that put paws on Bruce and did it with no problem. Hell, Black Adam depowered from being Black Adam. It was just like a regular dude and beat the brakes off Batman. So it's
and he probably deserved it.
Oh, absolutely. He did that and then basically told him to get out of his country. So it was like, I ain't even mad at it.
Captain America know all about that.
Right. That would be an interesting Solomon Grundy movie. That would be an interesting.
Let's just get regular Batman first. Solomon Grundy, cool, but DC has not shown me they can handle the deep cuts yet.
I mean, they got the guy that's supposed to be good at that type of thing. He made the Guardians of the Galaxy a regular name, and something that folks were excited about.
I mean, that's cool, but let's see what you really got. Because if he can't do it, then I'm ready to start talking about DC being cursed as an
Mm.
IP.
It is not designed for live action, and I think a lot of it. I think realistically, and I feel like I've said this one time before. I do think that it is something about um, the design of the characters themselves.
DC?
Yes, because DC characters are, I mean, even Batman, much as I hate to say it, like as far as a character, compared to the regular citizens, Batman is basically a god. Unlimited wealth. He can beat up pretty much anybody. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the stuff that Batman can do puts him so far ahead of the average person. And then you have literal gods like Wonder Woman and Superman. You know what I'm saying? The Flash. Like these are people that belong in Olympus compared to the average human in DC. Marvel, on the other hand, they can do some cool shit, but these are regular folk that can do some cool shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's like because of that, there's an element of, I guess people would say, realism. You know what I'm saying? Because like, why do we have Spider-Man having all those kind of powers and can't pay his rent? You know what I'm saying? If that character was a DC character, Spider-Man would be a wealthy whatever. You know, like he would be Nightwing, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Like he would be a character like that where he's well to do and doesn't have like all of that normal stuff doesn't that's not even part he has to worry about the existential crisis of being the greatest hero that like that's the shit he's gonna have to worry
Yeah,
about as a DC character. But
right.
they're gonna make him a regular person in Marvel who can do some fantastic things. That's why you have people like the Fantastic Four. Reed Richards is still like a scientist who puts on a lab coat and goes into his lab in a building that he lives in and works in. You know what I'm saying? That's a regular dude. That's a dude that's walking down the street to buy groceries. You know what I'm saying? Like he's well, he's probably getting shit door dashed or whatever. But like people be running up on Johnny Storm to get autographs and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like these are very attainable people in Marvel.
Well, and it's like the DC conflict is often like a universal one, or like, it really is, I mean, in Marvel they save people, but I feel like in DC it really be like damn, how many people be falling out buildings? You know what I mean? Like that's like everybody's my first superhero mission, catching somebody falling off a damn building. And it's like, okay, like, but once we get past that, the characters sometimes feel undeveloped. I think that is a lot of my own personal, thing about Superman, where I think, most characters kind of are dependent upon who writes them and when they're written. But I think
Mhm.
Superman is much more emboldened to that, because the idea of Superman at its inception is very different from like core values or core things that people in the geek community try to connect to now. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like he's very um Wonder Bread, all American, even though he's not American,
right,
kind of guy. And he is, designed as, this is the perfect man. You know what I mean? Like, if there was a man, the people who we look to be perfect look like this and act like this. And now we have a lot more nuance that we can look at things through, and we can say shit like, yeah, of course Superman cannot wear a mask because he's white. And you say that, and then white people who are Superman fans will be like, "No, Superman's like a universal like experience."
Symbol.
And it's like, if a black man was Superman, he'd have to wear a Spider-Man style outfit. There's no way a black man could do any number of the missions that Superman did before the government came through and was like, "Yo, wagwan." Like
Hmm.
they never would let me or you, Sam, if you came down in a spaceship
Read
and landed in Kansas, no, if
read the
you told me to read some,
4 issues of Icon.
right,
Read the Milestone Comics. Read the first 4 issues of Icon.
right, and that's what it would be. And people don't want to admit that that's what it would be, but that's what it would be. And we know that and we accept that. But if you're going to be talking about a character that has embodied that, you're going to have to find a way to do that in a way that can be compelling in the times that we live in. And I've always said that the issue of Superman has always been him trying to show us that he is normal. And I just think like the character has outgrown that. The character does not need us to explain who Clark Kent is. The character needs to explain to us why he keeps getting up and being Clark Kent every fucking day once he becomes Superman. Like, what is the point of that? And I think until like storytellers around Superman tell that story, we're just going to struggle trying to connect to this previous. Yeah, Superman 100% is a Republican.
Absolutely. He's
True
born and
justice
raised
in
in
American way.
Kansas. Kansas. He's a farmer. Yeah. 100%. This other one, wish they would stop making Fantastic Four movies.
We talked about that on here too.
Yeah, it's
Only reason they're making the movies is so they can get to Silver Surfer. That's it. It's like we can want the Fantastic Four to matter all we want to, and yes, like historically, we got to pay respect and do what we do. But like,
no, we don't.
Is this the landscape that needs a Fantastic Four movie? Reed Richards and Sue Storm and them could just show up in another movie, and see if we like them.
Absolutely.
And if we don't, alt universe them. And
Yeah, they could just never show up again.
if Silver Surfer showed up, who would be like, "Where's the Fantastic Four though?"
If Silver Surfer shows up, the first thing that comes to mind is like, "Ooh, Galactus."
Yeah.
And even then, I would probably be more interested in finding out how the current landscape of the MCU would go against a threat like Galactus. I don't expect or entrust the Fantastic Four to save the day. I don't care. Galactus fight other people. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, they suffer largely from kind of the same problem that Superman suffers from. It's like they're a relic of a time gone by that I don't think, have quite figured out how to modernize in a way that gets like a younger and newer demographic to comics to
wait.
care.
You mean to tell me that Michael B. Jordan being adopted and having this other... Actually, no, he was the son and had an adopted sister. You know what I'm saying? Like...
Yeah, they really flipped that one on his head. Because
that wasn't modern enough.
Because what black man are they letting adopt a little white girl? That was the most fantastic thing in that movie.
Less believable than The Thing and the stretchy young Reed Richards. Like,
yeah. Crazy as hell. I don't care what kind of scientist you are. Get out of my courtroom. Asking for this little white girl. Her mother was crazy.
Dog. I could easily judge as like, denied. Next.
You sure you know him? You don't have to go with him.
I assure you, that's going the very first time. Yeah, that ain't happening. Phoenix showed up without the Shi'ar Empire. That's because
Agree, but those movies are bad.
I was gonna say yeah, but that's
They done had
not the
two
way they
phoenixes in those Shi'ar.
should have done it. And
I would never condone what they've done to any of those movies.
you know what? Even in this X-Men '97, I had a whole like when the Phoenix showed up, I just had to take a moment. I just like look at the screen like what? Okay. It's just like that was random. You know what? We just go gloss over that part and keep going because if I try to like figure that out and make sense of that, I'm gonna be real confused. We're not gonna worry about it. It's cool. She's been to Phoenix. Obviously, there's a connection, but
I mean,
now she feels the
I,
Phoenix leaving.
I think the whole thing about the Phoenix is
Okay,
it be saying it's gone, but it don't be. Just leave a
right,
little bit behind just in case I catch you slipping one day, Gene.
right. You know, what I'm saying like she just got a little pager, like a little reset in case of
She even said
emergency.
she even was like, "Now the Phoenix is really gone." It's like, all right, Gene, you thought it
Right,
was
like
gone before. You thought you was you, and you wasn't even you.
so.
We not believing nothing you talking about.
So this time for real, for real. Okay, like for real. But like no, seriously, like for real, it's gone. Okay.
Like for real.
Don't pop up next season and suddenly have a Phoenix outburst again.
She gonna be wearing the Phoenix outfit in the opening credits.
Be the definite giveaway.
And
I
see, that's another thing too, where it's like even the story of the Phoenix is like we got an amazing story and an amazing character because people didn't know how to write for female characters and they were struggling with this character and everybody hated Jean Grey and then they killed her off after making her like an interesting character and it's like no, like do that. Don't give up on the idea of inclusion. Just write them better. And I think if that was the attitude that I heard from like the Star Wars or the Game of Thrones or whatever geek contingency that has like a major issue with inclusion, if you were looking at it and you were saying like, all right, the writing became poor because it started focusing more on this than this, then I could say, okay, we can have like a real conversation about where you feel like, quote unquote, the inclusion is distracting. But if you're not even able to like look past the fact that people are included to analyze and critique the actual art, we can't have a real conversation about what inclusion looks like for you that's not going to be an intrusion. And the reality is, you just have to accept that the world, the bubble that you set up for yourself, is not the entire world. It's not all of reality. That's a small section of the world comfort zone that you set up for yourself. And that's fine, but it doesn't encompass the entire Star Wars universe. I'm in there too, big dog, and I want to see some stuff that I like too. And not talking about a whole race of Jar Jar Binkses coming out the water with a marching band talking like Misa, Misa, Misa. Because are you telling me that was supposed to be me? Is that what you saying? Is that what I was supposed to connect to? Because if so, then we got a much bigger problem on our hands. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the whole thing. Like I understand to a degree, but like doing it on every show, just quit being a Star Wars fan. It's never gonna be what you want it to be again. If that's where you're coming from with it. Same with Marvel, same with DC, same with all this stuff. There will
I
never be a world moving forward economically that says we're only going to make stuff for straight white men because monetarily it doesn't make sense.
I'm 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 mad that made me laugh.
Low key,
I like
while you
Right?
bullshitting,
Right?
Why you bullshit?
I was like,
You know what, Sam? This made me think. The other day, I started watching the old school Planet of the Apes movies, and I'm watching it like this. This what they think would happen. This is what they think would happen. See what happened when all the white people don't have a voice, and it's just the monkeys running things. This is what happens.
Get your hands off of me, you damn dirty ape.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, this ain't. I would imagine being a black person in the movie theater back then watching that.
Just like,
you gotta look down because you're in the balcony.
Can't look to the door
from the back.
yeah.
But yeah, man, all that stuff is over, man. And it's sad that you can't see the benefit of that being over, because
that was exactly.
I look at it like, say what you want to say about the films. John Boyega's performance in those films, in my opinion, was incredible. And to be able to see him in those roles and that lead to the other roles that he has got, he is a monumental.
What does that mean?
Yeah, yeah, and it's just like you want to live in a world where you don't know who John Boyega is as an actor.
Yeah,
you want to live in a world where you don't know who Billy D. Williams is as an actor. You want to live in a world where you don't get to watch women do cool shit. Like, that shit not cool to y'all. Like, it's and like, even on the sports side of things, it's like you had that same conversation. It's like, bro, like, y'all don't know what y'all missing out on just by being like so lame that you just gotta like put people down because it's not something that you enjoy. Like, you can just not enjoy it, and that's fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, are there things that you do enjoy? Because I get it to a degree where it's like, on, like, for black people, right? Like, they think they're doing what we did when we would go to the movies and never see ourselves, and turn on the TV and never see ourselves, or you see, Lieutenant Uhura, or you see Commander Geordie LaForge, or, the only one, or you watch the Jets. And so we start looking around like, where's our representation? They're looking around like, we have less representation because y'all are including everyone else, but it feels like we have no representation. And it's like, neither one of those statements is actually accurate.
Even close.
Like, we get more, you get more, but you're hung up on this one thing that you've also been telling us for years doesn't matter, because when we say there's nobody for us to connect to, you say, well, go make your own, and we make our own, and you're not interested in that, and that's fine, except for the fact that y'all have all the money to greenlight everything. Y'all own all the studios and production companies, all the distribution channels. So, like, it actually does matter. But
and
like,
so
it also matters
made in a way that is appealing and acceptable, and
right. But it also matters when we show up too, because we gonna get the fits off too. Yeah. Like, that's one thing we gonna do. It's all kind of stuff getting made for licenses because black people want cool stuff.
Yeah.
T-shirts is cool. Ringer tees is cool. I don't want a jacket that's the exact same jacket as the man in the movie, though. I'm not on set.
Right.
I need costume-ish, inspired by. Give me a couple patches.
Not a cosplayer.
Nah, I'm not. And I'm not knocking the people who do. But if I did, it wouldn't even be that. I would make my own stuff.
I was about to say, and even then, with the cosplay, it's like so many people. I find the most impressive cosplay to me are the people who are inspired by something or inspired by two things and create a mashup. Yeah. Or they give you a reimagined version of something. Like it becomes something established that you know, but here's this version of it. Because to me, that's that artistic liberty, if you will, where they can say like, oh, well, everybody knows this character, but what if that character was this, and then that's the costume they make? Because now you're looking at it, and it's like the talent. First of all, the artistic mindset to be able to see something that doesn't exist like that, to reimagine something, that's always impressive. But then a lot of times to have the talent to pull that off, because when you reimagine something that doesn't exist, you know, like you're doing a reimagination of something that exists, you have to either modify that thing or create that thing because it typically doesn't exist. You can't just buy that shirt. You can't just buy that jacket or that costume or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So it ends up having to be made. And that's why I would say those are the ones that are most impressive. In the cosplay space, like there's a lot of talent. And that's not to knock the people who, you know, look a particular way but cosplay this character or that character, and they're giving you their version of that character. Even when I see that, even when people do that, it can be because you're seeing the person that's doing the cosplay and they are committing to a certain level of accuracy to the character. It's still in its own right becomes a reinterpretation of that character. And therefore it's automatically a bit of a mashup. By itself, that is impressive. Now I'm a fan.
Yeah, man, just stop being lame.
Stop being lame. Stop hating on everything. Learn to like some shit, and let's talk more about the things that people like.
Right. Like if you don't like, if somebody makes a post in the group, and it's a show, and you watched it, and you didn't like it. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Because what purpose do you think that you are truly serving by going into that post on something somebody saying that they enjoyed and being like, this was so bad because of XYZ and they're doing this and they're doing that and whoop de whoop and blah blah blah, cry cry cry. It's like, okay, bro, but like you're not here to have like a real conversation. Guess what? There should be some posts on some stuff you hopefully do like in the group.
Right.
And so let's start engagement on that. Engage with the stuff that you do like. Don't disrespect the people who like something that you don't like. Because y'all like a whole bunch of stuff I don't like and I don't care about and I don't get. And it's fine. Because I know that there's a bunch of stuff out there that I do like and that I do get. And so I choose to engage with that. And it makes my life so much better because like, and it's like if you just like arguing, okay, cool, say that, make yourself know I'm here to argue, and then people won't feel the need to like engage. But when you go in and you talking about something that somebody likes, they're gonna defend it, and then all the defensive tactics that people in those situations use are like the most annoying ones on the planet, where it's like, ugh, you being so defensive. Like, yes, you're talking about something that I like. I'm going to defend it. What do you think? Like you came on this post being confrontational and now you're getting confronted back and you don't understand what's happening. Like, no, like you thought you was gonna come on here and get yours off and nobody was going to disagree with you, and then somebody does disagree with you and they know just as much if not more than you, and they're offering actual like real rebuttals to the things that you're saying, and then put that black cherry right on top, and there we have a delicious incel Sunday.
Let me tell you, I kind of miss the days where we used to have to like we used to get people's ass all the time, and Jeff is like really calming me down to the point where it's like I skip over posts. I skip over posts. I'd make it a point sometimes to comment here, comment there, and if I see a good post and somebody like has a well articulated, even if it's something they don't like, if it's a well articulated point, you know what I'm saying, then I will try to like make a comment or tag someone to respond to get the engagement. I've got some little admin tools when I can see like, oh, this has only been seen by 13 people. Okay, well, I make a comment on it, now it's seen by 50 people, and little things like that. So I like to debate. I don't necessarily care to argue, because I feel like one of the big things about arguments is the difference between an argument and a debate. In a debate, you understand that there is an opposing viewpoint, but that opposing viewpoint has valid concerns, issues, or points that could sway your opinion on said matter. An argument is, I am right, you are wrong. Here's why you're wrong. At the end of it, typically when people are arguing, it doesn't matter how many facts you spit at me. If I don't feel like you're right, then it doesn't matter. I'm still going to believe what I believe. And it is insane to listen to people, like, even with these people, it's like, oh, they're trying to push an agenda. Were you sitting in the meeting where they said, we have to make it a point to do this thing? No. So you were not spitting facts because you looked at the casting and you said, no, you can see it right there. It's plain as day. No, it's not plain.
Okay, what's the agenda?
Thank you. You can't
lay it all out. Give me your whole red pill manifesto. I want to hear.
If how is sitting in the meeting, what is the agenda that is being pushed? What do you think they really accomplish if they were trying to push the agenda you said? You know what?
How is putting more black people in Star Wars going to lift up the black community?
Listen, we got a conspiracy theory show coming up. We would do it then, because if we go down that rabbit hole right now, But I want to tackle. You know what? That is actually going to be. That's going to be a topic. What is woke? What is woke?
What is the woke agenda? I know what woke is. They don't. What is the agenda? That's the part I want to know, because that word has a meaning.
I will make sure that I put that up when we're going to have that discussion in advance. I feel like that would be a hell of a topic for a live show. And you know what? I'm going to make the title card and do this. That's going to be the title card where I can make that face. And it'll be something like, here's the woke agenda. And then it'll just be me asking people to tell me what it is, because I have no fucking clue what the woke agenda is.
Because it's not a thing.
No, it has to be. Too many people on the internet say it, so it has to be true.
No, that doesn't make it a thing.
I know what it is.
It has to exist.
But Sam said I gotta save it.
Yeah. It's we will talk about the New World Order at a later date, and when the reptile men come to take over and all that kind of good stuff. The agenda is how to get us all into Area 51. All right. We will get back to that. I think, like, now I'm curious, because it's like, man, we don't have enough days next week. I need extra days. Because now next week we got, I'd like to actually, hopefully everybody be caught up and we can do a full mid-season, and based on like even tonight's topic, we would be able to and you know what I would almost say, but you also have to have the mushroom farm that you can sell locally grown mushrooms at either the farmer's market or to your actual supermarket distribution. I say that jokingly, but my kid had a whole conversation and concept and idea, and I was like, "You gonna do what?" I was just like, "Wait, what?" Mushroom. Okay, I can't. We'll talk about this. And I've not heard about it since, so that's the thing. But yeah, whenever we figure this out, so I've got to work it all out, get it all on the calendar, get it all scheduled. A full-on conspiracy theory video, we can probably double that up. We got Game of Thrones dropping Sunday. I apologize. I have not gotten to Bridgerton. I know y'all told me I got to watch Bridgerton. I have not started this season.
No, that's fine. The second half of the season just dropped today.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And then of course The Boys. Not to mention all the anime that I've been watching. It's just so much. So I think once the weekly watch group gets together, if everybody has the Acolyte watched up through episode 4, because that will be the mid-season. If we can get together, we can talk about that. It doesn't necessarily have to be live. I think the conspiracy theory video would be an interesting video to do live. We might get a little engagement and have some people come in and talk about that. Especially like if we we go talk about the agenda and the woke and that whole bit. I would love to get people who, even in our group, argue and complain about that, and I would like to know what they think about it, because everybody seems to feel like if they see something that it's just gonna change their life, and their life won't be the same tomorrow if they see this thing on television, this fictional story that's not really real. As they see it, it's gonna.
Bro, it's space wizards with laser swords, and y'all are up in arms. Be thankful we live in a world where we can even make some dumbass shit like that and put it on TV.
Right. We have the luxury of watching space
You got
wizards.
your priorities messed up.
Space wizards
Laser swords.
with laser swords.
All right. Miss Danielle, I appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. It's always a pleasure. I know you've got your story, your comic, your book. You gotta hit me up, send me a message on that. I know you said recently. I sent you my email address. I gotta go back and double check my email. So send me a message and let me know what email it would come from. That way we can put more information about that for you out in the group. But I've enjoyed this conversation. I like just being able to talk, and I've had some laughs. We've had some good conversation. Always fun. And since Teresa, it ended up working out. I think we got all the spoilery stuff out the way. You were able to still come in and speak Star Wars. It was fun. It was awesome. But I think you actually like the show. I do. And I've actually been enjoying the show. But I made it a point not to heavily engage with people who were having negative. I was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna do it. Nope. But they'll be able to watch this video and they'll be able to hear me say that I enjoyed it, I like it, and I don't see what the problem is. I don't. There's so much good in it.
You gotta go back to sleep so you can see.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been watching with my third eye anyway, brother. So, that's probably why I like it, But that's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate everybody who had an opportunity to come in. Make sure to click that QR code there in the corner. Join us at Grown A Geeks. Find us everywhere we are. Make sure to like and subscribe. Follow the YouTube. Find us on Instagram and join our Facebook group so you can be a part of the conversation. I want to thank the Omega Level Threat, Mr. Reese, for hopping in here with us tonight. As always, my man Jeffrey, JPNT17.com was here. And I am Elder Geek Sam, the wielder of a purple lightsaber. We are Grown A Geeks. It has been a pleasure to talk with you all tonight, and we are out of here. Peace.